all you recovering emo kids to another episode of Emo Kids Anonymous podcast with your hosts Amanda and Rob. And today we have a guest host with us, the Swemo Guy, aka Ryan. Hey Ryan, how's it going?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Pretty good.
Great to have you here. Great to finally meet you.
And did I hear correctly? I'm the first guest.
You're the first official guest on this show. Yeah, this is a big deal.
What a low bar you have set for everyone.
Yeah. We're keeping it classy here. This is our first time doing the three people on screen thing. I don't know where I'm going to be in the thing, so I'm just going to kind of be doing like the Usher Sesame Street thing sometimes. I'm just kind of looking all like just in case. Yeah.
So convinced that you're the center square that you're.
Yeah. I've tried keep putting myself in the center. It doesn't work. So like I'm just gonna.
I'm just looking at myself, so I know I look okay, and I'm not making funny faces at you two. So that's all.
Yeah, I haven't. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so Ryan. Yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself. Like for those who are not familiar, who are listening to our podcast.
How much? We're gonna get into some of the bio when we get into, emo adjacent artists here. But to give you the emo kid backstory, my name is Ryan. I was in a band called Reserved. Yeah, hi Ryan. I'm a recovering emo kid. Right?
Yeah. Nice.
I was in a band called Reserved and a band called DFS back in the day, and I had like 5 years deep in the scene, and then so basically from like 2002 to 2007, playing in bands, touring, and my claim to fame was like we were one of those MySpace bands, played like the opening stage on Taste of Chaos, and so in my little region, I was the emo guy.
Where's this region? Where are you from?
Northwest Ohio, so like right around Toledo. So Ohio is for lovers. That was my...
Okay.
Yeah, so Midwest emo. And so I lived through the pop punk transition into, mall emo, dark emo. And so I was the emo guy in my area. And basically I got here to talking to you guys because I was known as the emo guy in my area, and when emo started to resurge on like TikTok and stuff like that, I found out the children were talking about emo on TikTok, and I had to show up and correct them basically.
That's right.
And relatable.
Yes.
That's the same reason I did it too. I was like, these goddamn kids are saying Linkin Park and Evanescence are emo bands.
Breaking Benjamin is not emo, guys.
No, like I was getting like the same thing. I was like, I need to correct this.
I literally had teenagers I was working with that were basically talking about like furry culture and making it sound like emo, and I was like, no, wait, those are different things. And
we don't endorse the furry culture. I don't think, right? I'm not sure.
I don't know. Maybe there's a subculture, but not like on the main.
But I showed up on TikTok. I started talking about emo, and that led down a rabbit hole we're going to get into in this episode.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's
it
the
will.
reason why you're called Swemo Guy.
Yeah, that is why I'm called Swemo Guy. Started as the emo guy, and we added the Swemo later.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yes.
See, I connected with you like a couple weeks ago through like Tony connects everyone, but like I first saw you like when I started doing like videos in this scene. You were one of the first ones who had a video pop up that actually like really grabbed my attention. It was talking about fashion in emo and who was the first ones to wear like the tight pants and stuff.
Right.
And you said it was from first to last. And I had never put that together before that. And like, I just remember it was like, this dude knows ball.
This dude knows
like,
ball.
I was like, because I'm seeing a lot of people just, it's like, cookie cutter, it's shallow. It's like most of the content that I was seeing wasn't from people that were like, clearly like, nerds. They weren't ball knowers, and it was like, oh, this guy remembers he was there, the fashion of it. Like, I hadn't thought of that. Like, shit, okay.
And that's such an interesting one too, because you talk about the fashion, and now I'm to the point where literally I did like a guest spot as a speaker in a college class about emo and subculture, and we did a whole thing talking about how that fashion became the uniform, became like you knew someone was safe in a weird way because they were wearing skinny jeans.
Yes.
Like that was like they're cool, like I can talk to them. And I remember it being from first to last, and we could talk. I mean, that's a whole different episode too. But like that was kind of a crossover from the hardcore scene. So I remember like the pop punk kids and the punk kids like we all wore like the baggiest.
Cargo shorts and
Yes.
stuff
Yeah.
like that. But the
Cargo
hardcore
shorts.
kids, some of the hardcore kids were wearing like girl pants already and shit like
Yeah.
that. And I remember like I'd be trying to rock the extra small t-shirt, like it was just
Yeah.
that was the fucking look if
Yes.
you were trying to like, punch people in the basement like back then. Ironically
Yeah.
Well,
enough. And then it
once again,
kind of
we've already
combined.
proven poor Amanda's gonna be fighting for every word when me and
Oh,
Rob
it's
just go
okay.
off.
This is just fine. It's fun hearing the two of you talk about it. But yes, you're right about the hardcore scene and the skinny jeans coming up. Because I think like Pete Wentz was wearing skinny jeans when he was in hardcore, and they would always make talk about it when they would do early.
We'd wear the skinny jeans, and did you ever do the
He wore the
bandana in your
flared
back
ones,
pocket?
right?
Oh, yeah.
He was
Oh,
wearing
yeah,
the
man.
women's flares, which my favorite jeans. I'm glad they're back. I don't care what anyone says. I think flares are
Yeah.
amazing.
My
so I'm
mom
a big
was
fan.
too tall. I couldn't borrow her pants ever. It sucked.
Oh, you poor thing.
Yeah. They would have
Well,
dragged. She would have known.
and I'd,
Yes.
I'd give anything to be as big as I was when I was like 20, but I was like the bigger guy in the band anyway. So like when it stopped being cool to wear like black shorts on stage and you had to like get the skinny
Yeah.
jeans, I was like, fine, I guess. But like, the pop
I
punk
just
thing
need
was
to
kind of
know
working for me, guys. Like,
how y'all keep it together because, like, I mean, I know how tight my skinny jeans
Oh,
are.
my
I
shit's
need to
small, it
understand
don't
how
matter.
y'all. Oh, shut up. So self-deprecating.
yeah.
I need to know how y'all keep it together over there because I can't imagine.
I heard it lowers your count as well, which I've also heard the same thing about Mountain Dew, and I personally am show that doesn't work. So I call bullshit on it.
we learned a lot about our friends in the scene
Yeah.
when we started wearing skinny
I
jeans.
bet. Yes.
Yeah, and I grew up in Alberta, Canada at the time. Like it was like negative 30 degrees out. Okay, like I'm not kidding. That like I was basically shit was like a button.
Well, see, and you and you suffered for your fashion because even here, like I remember, like wearing the Chuck Taylors in like 3 feet of snow,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
which made no sense whatsoever.
Bro, I wouldn't wear a winter jacket. Like, no, like I can't throw off the fit. I got the extra small pretty girls make graves shirt on with the light blue skinnies. Like, no, this is tight.
Oh my
Pretty girls
gosh.
make
Come on.
graves. That's a
Right?
good
Yeah.
reference.
That was yeah, I remember I had one of those like I don't even think I listened to him yet, but it's like I got the shirt at a thrift store and it was just
It
like
just
that was
sounded
like
cool.
right, it sounded
Yeah.
tight. I don't think I
Cool
was really
name.
into them yet till later, but it's like shirt looks tight, his lips with a cigarette. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna wear that.
You're like, it's all
The
cool.
vibe started early.
Yes,
Right?
I had to.
Do we have any news? I guess we should, as we resume, this
Yeah.
is going to be an unhinged
What's the
episode,
news?
but what's the
It
news,
is.
Amanda?
Yeah, well, this will be my part of the episode where I just like kind of tell you guys the topic
Yeah,
and then let you two go.
sorry, yeah.
No. But so the big news that came out since our last episode was Riot Fest. They finally announced it, which I'm not gonna lie, I was a little nervous for because I really didn't want Fall Out Boy to perform
Because you'd have to go?
well, I would have to go, but I already have tickets to see Louder Than Life, which is the same weekend, which is killing my soul because I still want to go to this. But I also got Louder Than Life tickets. And
Okay.
so, yes, but the lineup is sick. I mean, you have Blink, Weezer, Green Day, basically the late 90s, like pop punk, like.
It's interesting to me. I was talking to my buddy about this the other day. It's like I kind of like I said to him, I was like, "Are those the three biggest bands like of our life? Like post '94?" And he's like, "I don't know how Weezer gets on there." I'm like, "Well, Weezer's huge, but they're not
Oh,
really
yeah.
huge. But they haven't really put out a record people love in like 25 years. But like they still headline all these festivals. They're kind of like this, and I mean like they do Hella Mega. They're the opener.
Yeah.
They
They
did
kind
do
of
the
walk
Hellmega,
this.
yeah.
I was just gonna say the same thing. Like, so me and my wife went to, a couple years ago, went to Hella Mega, and I remember,
Yeah.
we liked Fall Out Boy. We obviously I love Green Day, and we sort of did the same thing. Like, we're pulling up, and she's like, "Oh, I don't know, I don't really love Weezer." And as we're sitting there, we're like, "Man, just there's so many songs by Weezer
Great.
that everyone
Yeah,
knows,
you forget.
Yeah.
Mhm.
and you forget until you're." Until Weezer's playing in front of you, and you're like, "Oh yeah, that one. Oh yeah, that
Yep.
one. Oh yeah, that one."
Yeah.
They
And
have
so,
like a full set, like a full like radio festival set or opening. Like they have a full set where it's just like 9, 10 legitimate like fucking hits, and you're like,
Right.
Yeah.
okay, Weezer's
Exactly.
tight, and they're great. They're
Yeah.
like a really really good band. Like
They
yeah,
are, yeah, just live. I didn't see them at Hella Mega because I did not get to see Hella Mega, but I did see them at Louder Than Life in 23 before Foo Fighters. And I'll tell you, the crowd loved them. And there was just, I mean, the amount of crowd surfers for a Weezer song
For a
is
Weezer
out of
show.
this world. I
Yeah.
was like, why are there so many
No.
crowd surfers?
yeah,
I
yeah, love Weezer.
I'm personally at a point in my life where I would not go out of my way to see Weezer, but like if you were already going to Riot Fests, closing down Saturday
yeah.
night, it'll be good.
It's worth it. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like Hanson's on there, which is tight. I think there's a Hanson resurgence. I have it. I can't say what it is, but there's a festival in our scene, like a B-level festival in our scene next year that will have Hanson on it as well. Like is kind of like Hanson's kind of like going into our world of nostalgia where it's like, hey, we're
So
kind of like they're one of the things like the episode today, they're becoming an emo adjacent act despite the fact
I
there
love
being really
that.
no connection. Like
Well, I love Hanson. So they're maybe my first boy band. Like when I was in 5th grade, I thought the world of them. I had a crush on Zach, even though he was the youngest. Well, he was my age. So that was
yeah,
fine.
yeah.
But I had a crush on Zach Hanson, and my sister and I used to like jump on our trampoline and like pretend like what would it be like if Hanson came and played at our middle school? How cool would that be? It
How
would be
sick
so
would
freaking
that be?
amazing. And
That's
then
awesome.
my funny like Hanson story is so my mom took my sisters and I, and we're all very close in age, right? My youngest is only 5 years younger than me, and then my middle sister is like 18 months younger than me. So we went to France. My mom took us to England and France, and so when we were in
Country.
France, we all have the country. Yes, the country.
Just
correct.
making sure
We were
I
in
follow. I
Paris.
don't know. I'm trying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
we
haven't
were
been
in
to
Paris.
Pennsylvania.
Oh no. Well, there is a Paris, Kentucky.
That's what
So
I was
there
gonna
we
say. Like, I
go.
don't know. There might be like there's a Paris,
Yes,
Texas. Like, I don't know if you just meant like there. Oh, no, France, Pennsylvania. It's like Dutch
yes.
Amish country. I don't fucking know. Like,
We
it's just
have a
triple
lot of
checking.
French names here in Kentucky. But we were hanging out in the middle of the night. It was nighttime, and my sister and I all have like kind of like long blonde hair at the time, and we're all wearing these matching Land's End jackets because my mom like she wanted to put us all in something that matches. And this couple comes up to us and starts talking in French, but the only thing we can get out was Hanson, and they were pointing at us, and my mom's like, "No, they're not Hanson." But they looked like that was a big like thing. They all had that long. Everyone thought they looked like girls, and we all had this long blonde hair.
That's
And we
great.
were American. Clearly, we're American. We
Right?
had braces at the time. So, and braces aren't that common in the UK.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah. I didn't know. Yeah,
no.
crazy.
So they thought we were Hanson.
freaking sorry.
I was
for
like,
getting in
I
trouble.
don't know how, like, if I should be insulted because you thought I looked like a little boy.
Oh, no, I'd take it.
No, those were
Yeah,
three
it's
very
pretty good.
pretty girls
Yeah,
at
I
the
was gonna
time.
say,
That
yeah,
was, yeah.
yeah. A lot of people thought they were girls too. I have like
Yes,
I have
sure.
I have a cousin that's like right in between our ages, and Heather, she's like a TikTok influencer girl. She's been to see Hanson. I'm sure by this point like over 100 times. Like she follows that. She used to follow. Like I remember
Wow.
like when we were like 10 and 11 years old, she was
Yeah.
already like obsessed, already seen him a bunch, and like this has continued on until now. And like when the lineup came out, she commented on my video. I was like, and you live in Chicago, right there, Hanson. Pretty tight.
I know.
Also, I mean, the lineup in general for Riot Fest though is one of the best
Well,
festival lineups I've seen in a long
and
time.
I
Yes.
made a video about it this week, and just I know Riot Fest has like done some out of the box things before, but like it's just seeing the flyer with Knocked Loose and the Beach Boys next to each other was
Right?
like,
It's
what are we doing?
it's
Like this is
nice.
Yes.
crazy.
Yes, and did you guys see in addition to Riot, like with the Riot Fest stuff, they also announced that some of the bands are doing
Yeah,
album
they're doing
plays.
some playthroughs, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Are they? I
yeah,
didn't see that.
yeah.
No.
Alkaline Trio is
Yep.
doing Maybe I'll Catch
Academy
Fire.
is, which almost here is
Yeah,
like one of my favorite. I could just listen, straight through.
I
Screeching
forgot
Weasel, the Tories are doing So Long Astoria.
Blue album.
They
Screeching
are.
Weasel. That's good. I thought he got canceled. I forgot they were booked. That's good.
I was gonna
I
say,
hope
is there?
not, because I have a patch of the Screeching Weasel.
Yeah,
on
no,
my
Ben
patch
Weasel.
back.
He
Yes.
straight up smacked around a lady. Yeah, no,
Ooh.
I don't know. Yeah, a couple times I think.
Well,
Anyways, Harrison Gordon's there. I love Harrison Gordon.
I know.
Well,
There's a rumor John Stamos might show up.
he's got a show for the Beach Boys, right? That's
Why
gonna
not?
be.
Possibly,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think so. Yeah,
But
that'd be
we're
that's
burying the
exciting.
lead though. We haven't even mentioned Weird Al. I mean, that's
No.
Shit. Oh, I saw. Oh, he is on there. God,
yeah.
there's so.
See?
I would. Yeah. Does he have a president? What's that shit the president gives people? The Medal of Freedom or whatever? Like the Kennedy Center? Like the special one, the
Yes.
one where Biden cried. Weird Al. Like I'm not even kidding around. Like I feel like he deserves one. Like I feel like he's.
Does he not have one? I feel
If
like
I don't
mean,
know. What if Mr. Rogers has one? He deserves one.
if there's not a Medal of Freedom or a Medal of the Arts or something like that, yeah, Weird Al should
Yes.
definitely get one.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, at this point.
Well, I was going
His
to ask, like,
parodies.
I know between, all of the festivals and revivals, are there any deep cuts? Because there's one band on here that I just discovered, like, within the last week or two, because they're blowing up. But are you guys following the Paradox right now?
Yes.
They're
My
Yes.
just
buddy,
blowing up, I
yeah.
feel like.
Yes, Rob, I did actually reach out to them.
I was
Did
gonna
you?
say I was gonna say they're with
I was
yeah
like,
no they're
let's
with
just.
are they not with my buddy Ben? I'm pretty sure they're with my buddy Ben.
Well, even
We'll triple
better.
check. Yeah, we'll triple check.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure he mentioned them on Friday night.
With the connections, there you go.
I
With the
know, right?
connection, the old
Right.
Hollywood neighbor. Yeah, no, I actually I went out to a show on Friday night. This is works into our news thing. I went to a show Friday night. Horse the band was in town, and my buddy Ben is like, I live next to this guy now. He's a booking agent, and he's like, "Come out to the show. I want you to check out the opening band." The opening band was called Flake. Have you guys heard the band Flake?
Mm-mm.
Ultimately, go check them out. The EPs and the singles they've released are tight. I've been hearing
Okay.
rumors that there's going to be like a bidding war on them and shit like that. They're unsigned right now, but like the live show legitimately was one of the best. Like I was like having like a religious experience there, and I'm not super into a lot of heavier shit. And it's kind of like walks this line of like stoner rock and like
Yeah.
metalcore and Hot Mulligan meets Boys Night Out meets this and meets like Nirvana-esque almost. And the lead
Okay.
singer is just like magnetic and electric. I'm arranging a interview with him on here or on the Robcast or on something eventually, but like it blew my fucking mind. If you guys haven't listened to Flake, go check out
Flake.
Flake.
Okay.
That shit was dope. Like I'm pretty cynical when I watch bands sometimes, and that was like I was a fan again. Go see the band Flake. Go stream them on the internet, and we'll have them on a future episode on this YouTube channel. I don't know what they're gonna be able, but we're gonna line something up. They're fucking tight. I'm a big
Yes.
believer in the band Flake.
Yes.
I'm adding them
But
to my
also
co-sign
yeah.
list.
But
Then-
Paradox is fantastic. Agreed.
Yeah, Paradox, they're
Yeah.
definitely blowing up on like
Mhm.
TikTok and stuff. And then I'll throw one more just for the purposes of our episode, start to segue. Chase
Yes.
Petra, who definitely on TikTok was doing Taylor Swift covers and Swemo covers and stuff like that. So they're on Riot Fest too.
Who's
That's
Chase
it.
Petra?
Yeah.
I know Chase Petra mostly. The singer does a lot of like acoustic and we're just doing
Okay.
covers and stuff on
Okay,
TikTok.
like-
but
So he's. Oh, I do see
Yeah.
his name on here because I'm looking
Her.
at it right now. So he's her.
I mean,
I'm so sorry.
I guess I don't fully know pronouns, but the female
But you're-
presenting for
okay.
sure. But yes,
Okay, gotcha. Perfect. Okay,
It can be a lady's name in 2025. That's true.
that's true. Both my daughters
is
have
true.
male names. So
You have two daughters? I thought you have a son and
Yeah.
a daughter.
no, I have two daughters, Lyndon and
For some reason, I
Landry.
thought
but
you're. Oh, Landry. Okay, 'cause I heard you say Landry, and I think I just assumed that meant
It was a
like
boy.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
exactly.
I didn't really hear Landry. Yeah, and I guess 9-year-old
Yes.
boy would sound like a 9-year-old girl too. So like, it probably sounded the same.
Yes, yeah. My daughter
wow.
Lyndon. The only other person who has the name Lyndon is another boy in the class.
Yeah, and
So-
and B. Johnson, the president, who is famous for having the largest hammer of any president, huge dong on Lyndon B. Johnson. Everyone knows
Wait, I
that.
didn't know that. Wait,
No,
that
that's
is
a fact.
fun
I'm not just
I did
messing around. It's a
know.
fun fact.
custom
He-
Hagar
he- he-
slacks.
Yeah, he used to do like invite like foreign leaders to the jacuzzi, like in like the pool, and he'd skinny dip and stuff like that and try to intimidate them. He had a big beef, a big
Amazing.
rivalry with JFK, who he took over for because he's like JFK was known as like the ladies' man, like JFK had a little wiener, this and that. Like he wasn't really like he wasn't a good lover. It's like, look at this thing I got. Like he'd be leaving the door open using the bathroom during meetings. Now Lyndon B. Johnson had that thing on him.
Well, it's good
That's
to
fact.
know that my daughter shares the same name as the president with the longest
Ah,
dong.
shit, I forgot that conversation started based on your daughter's name. I should have saved that fact for like, should have been a couple spaces between those things.
All the things I thought we would talk about tonight.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I didn't.
That wasn't on the
Lyndon B.
list, buddy.
Johnson's was not on
No,
the- yeah.
sorry.
Oh my goodness. Ryan, that is a good segue into our topic for tonight.
See, look, I'm a presenter. I got
You
you
are.
there. No.
Right? Yeah.
He got us where he needed to be, but neither here nor there. We're going to talk about Are They Emo?
Are they emo?
So, what we're going to talk about today is obviously, we've mentioned this on other episodes. There are artists out there that, while not directly in the scene, they either are influenced by emo music or there are elements of emo music or both in their music. And so tonight we want to just kind of talk a little bit about that, and we wanted to bring Ryan because he is, if not, I would say, the expert on a certain particular person and her connection to the emo world.
It's a heavy burden you've laid upon me, but I'll take
It
it.
is a heavy
Yeah.
burden. I expect you to deliver.
Listen,
No, just
yeah.
kidding.
It's in the name, okay?
It's
I
in the
literally
name.
did. I didn't know what this. I assumed you invented the name because I've had a couple of Taylor Swift emo posts and people are like Swemo, Swemo, and I was like, like the guy that I see pop up? Like, did he invent that? Like, I've
I
given
am
you
not the
credit in my head.
OG. No.
You can claim it.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not the OG.
mean,
You
I
can't.
can talk. And once again, I don't know if you want to bury the like. Do we want a main event with Taylor, or do we want to start the
Yeah,
story?
we
And you're
want to
like,
main event with Taylor. Let's
okay,
jump to
okay,
the chunk because Taylor's
yeah.
going to get the most clicks. People
okay.
want to hear about Taylor, and because I also
Everyone
love
always wants to
Taylor.
hear
Let's do it.
Taylor.
So we want to
Yeah,
start
let's
here.
do it.
Okay,
Let's start
so
with Taylor
so,
Swift.
I mean, I will start with here and now I'll complete where I started my story and how I became the Swemo guy. So, I'm on TikTok. I went, I got a bunch of followers talking about our emo, Taking Back Sunday specifically, and stuff like that. And as I'm doing that, it was right around the time Taylor Swift's Midnights come out. So it's funny that you call me like
Nice.
any kind of Taylor Swift expert because I'm literally only like 2.5 years into this.
I
Oh
got
shit.
this
Okay.
shirt. I have
Really?
this shirt you
Yeah,
made.
yeah. I made a shirt. I'm
Damn.
wearing shirts I made myself right
Damn,
now.
Torture
bro. I've been there
Poets
since
Department. Yeah.
'07. I figured you were too. Like, I
No,
figured, okay.
like
So you
no,
know,
I've
oh,
known,
wow.
and
This is
granted,
fascinating.
I've
I mean,
known
so you're aware of her.
I've known Taylor's hits.
Of course.
Like,
Yeah.
and as we're talking about, one thing that I was thinking about as we're getting ready for this episode, like as we're talking about emo adjacent artists, there have always been certain artists who have lent themselves, like when we think of like the pop goes punk or the punk goes pop albums and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Taylor has always been one that like has had songs that fit on that. Think was
Blank
it Pierce?
Space was a big one, right?
Which one?
Yeah.
It was I Prevail. Blank
I
Space didn't
Prevails.
I Prevail? Yeah, they did
Yeah,
that one. Yeah, from
yeah, Blank
was that
Space.
1989? Yeah.
And so so I knew the hits. I knew Blank Space. I knew We Are Never Getting Back Together. I knew all those Taylor Swift songs, but I didn't know Taylor. I didn't really know Taylor Swift. The deep cuts anyway. But it was right around the time Midnight's was coming out. And there was an interview with Taylor Swift, and this is where Amanda will jump in aggressively. She was
Oh,
asked,
yeah, another one.
you know the one,
J-Lo
yeah.
interview or something, right? Yeah.
She was asked her biggest lyrical influences, and she said Lana Del Rey, and I was like, okay, that makes sense. But then she said Pete Wentz, and that like broke my brain because I was like, okay,
Yes.
Respect.
what do you mean Taylor Swift's biggest lyrical influence is Pete Wentz? But as
Yes.
she explained it, she talked about writing in like quips, in zingers, in like little turns of phrase.
Exactly.
And she
In journal
specifically,
entries and MySpace
yeah,
Yes.
statuses.
exactly,
It's like
Yes,
what did
yes,
yes.
God
The
complex
girl,
talking and pull it like to take that
yeah,
phrase and turn it on its
the
head is just
girl who
yeah.
went to high school between 2004 and 2007. Surprise, yeah.
Perfect
right.
time.
He's a
And
Surprise
Pete,
in
yeah.
she
in
definitely was on
Pennsylvania. Like,
MySpace. I'm
yep.
sure she had a Zanga or something like that, and was keeping all
Zingo.
that stuff. And so as people started to like piece those things together, it made sense. And I started making videos around that sort of idea. And so I remember taking like one of the ones I remember was I did take like Fall Out Boys, Sugar We're Going Down Swinging, and like put Taylor Swift lyrics over it, and I was like, oh man, that works. Like it fits. And then I also remember doing. I'm a little like stuffy right now from allergies, but I remember like taking Antihero and being like, oh, if you put like a little Chris Carrabba dashboard wine on it,
You
just
could.
those lines like. I'll stare directly at the sun, but
Yeah.
never in a
Yep.
mirror. Like if you put a little
Yes.
Chris Carrabba on
Yes.
that, like, oh
Yeah.
gosh, that's emo. Like, it's
Yeah.
me, hi, I'm the problem,
Like,
it's
Well,
me.
and
Like
that's and the
that kind of
self-deprecating lyrics. That is so Fallout Boy. Like you can't tell me otherwise. That's how Pete writes
yeah,
every day
that
till
kind of
today.
all that kind of
Yeah.
and
stuff.
like with this whole topic and is like comes into thing. It's like, what is emo, this or that, like, what is it? Some people like, just because your lyrics are emotional, that doesn't mean it's emo. But it's like
Right,
with the Taylor
Yes.
stuff, it's very clearly stuff where it's like like Ryan, same thing. You're a musician. Like when you like, I remember like I went to music school here in Hollywood, Musicians Institute. And, like I'd write songs, and I'd be thinking like, oh, it sounds like this band stuff. They'd always just be like, it just kind of sounds like pop punk Taylor Swift. I'm like, well, they're the same chords. It's the same thing,
Yeah.
and it's more bubblegum hooks. There's
right,
hooks, but it's like melodramatic end of
Mm-hmm.
the world, the rain is falling. Like it is like every song is Tiger Lily by Matchbook Romance.
right,
It's like every
Yeah.
like especially like not even just beginning of her career, like the whole fucking thing is just really like
No, it's true.
extreme. Like it's very like
Yeah.
hard on sleeve in like a almost cringy way, in the same way our emo was. Like a lot of it's kind of embarrassing. Like if you were just to say like the lyrics to All Too Well and just be yelling them out and people didn't know what that song was, you'd sound Like people, like back in our day, like that sounds like some secondhand
Most emo
serenade
stuff.
shit, but
Yeah.
better, right?
Right.
But it's like
No, you're right. And like for Speak Now is an earlier one, but she even said like that one was I think most
it
directly influenced
is
by Pete's lyricism
it's so
to the point
FOB
that
and
Oh,
Paramore.
oh
yeah,
well.
to the point that that's why Haley Williams and Fall Out Boy are on Taylor's
Yes.
version. That's why they're on Electric Touch
Well, I was gonna
is
say
because
we're
yeah.
we're jumping back and forth, but like anyone who is questioning this, I would dare them to go listen to Misery Business and then listen to Better Than
And then
Revenge
Revenge, yeah,
back
Yes.
to back.
exactly.
Like
Like,
those are
yes.
sister songs.
She is
Um,
clearly
Yes.
influenced by it. You know what I mean? Like
a
she was
hundred
Someone
listening
did
to
percent.
that.
challenge me at the Hawthorne Heights I went to this Thursday. Some kid who was a photographer was coming up and talking to me, and he was like, Taylor Swift's not emo. I said, yeah, she is. And he was fighting. He's like, no, I don't care what you say. I was like, okay, you know what? I have a guy. You need to go
You
to
have a
his
guy.
TikTok.
You gotta go to this
Because
guy.
I
Like,
have a
okay.
guy. You're
He's
wrong.
like real
but it's
emo
fine.
comes from the Midwest and it's hateful and it's energetic and it's loud.
Yeah.
It's like giving
Yes.
you the whole copy pasta. Like
Well,
of
yeah,
any artist that fits this, it's her.
Yes.
and so that was it. Like it for me, it was very much like, oh wait, she was definitely emo influenced. You can tell she was an emo kid, and that influenced like what she wrote. Like we talked about the Fall Out Boy thing. It changed the way I listened to Blank Space because then all of a sudden that like, darling, I'm a nightmare dressed like a daydream, and I'm like,
That's a Pete.
I can
It's
hear Patrick
perfect.
singing it. I can
Yep.
see Pete dancing in the background while that's like I can see it now.
Yes.
But then to some of your point about musicianship, like I'll still say this to the day, till today. Like Midnight's wasn't an album for me. Tortured Poets Department ended up being like an album that made way more sense to me in terms of like the
Yes.
emo nature.
Agreed.
But like Lover, a lot of her albums musically aren't for me. It's a lot of synth pop. It's a lot of more
Oh, I
bubblegum and stuff.
love, yeah. No, I
You
love it. I
you love
love
that stuff.
Lover. I
Rob's like
love
a
Lover.
teenage girl in a male
Yeah, no,
35-year-old man's body.
my musical taste is like, yeah, like 13. No,
No,
I've loved Taylor Swift since I first heard Our Song, like the fall after I graduated high school, like that August or September, I hear it. I liked that. I didn't like country. Like I grew up in like, I was
Yeah.
living in the sticks and like I was just moving back down to San Diego and like Our Song, Teardrops, like all those, I liked those. And then the second, Fearless drops, and like I liked the singles. It was okay, and I kind of fell out. Like I never listened to Speak Now when it came out. I wasn't really into it. And then also the thing is at the time, really hate to admit this, but like I was such a Kanye stan that it was kind of like at the time I was like I felt bad
oh,
for Taylor, like, but like I'm listening
you
to Dark Twisted
you
Fantasy. I ain't
picked
got time for that
sides.
Speak Now.
No,
I picked
I was
sides.
always
I,
going to
I
support.
picked the side that ended up real bad in history.
Yeah, I don't think that was a good plan for
Bad
you,
pick.
Rob.
Yeah, no, not a great spot. So I hate to admit. But then like 1989 comes out, or not
Right.
1989. Red comes out in
Red, yeah.
2012. The same year I moved to LA, and just like that was where she got me back. Is like starts with like
Yes.
State of Grace, which is this like almost U2 esque song to me, and you have like
Hmm.
All Too Well on there, Stay Stay Stay. It's just like that was like that to me is where like in my head it's like this is one of the greatest singer songwriters of our era, like not even our era of American pop music history. I think of like a Tom Petty, a Bob
Yeah,
Right.
Dylan, like Chris Christopherson, Bruce Springsteen. Like Taylor Swift is them meets like
yeah.
a Chris Carrabba, meets this and that, but female pop star
She
form.
loves Chris Carrabba. He did show up to her friend's birthday party.
For a friend's birthday party, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. And I love that video of them all
Right,
singing.
them all vibing out to
Oh,
hands down.
they're singing there, and they're all singing their hearts out. It's great. Haley Williams is like two people down. It's nuts.
Right?
To
Um,
tie this in here really quick, fun fact, if you guys didn't know, industry inside baseball here in about 2013 or 14, I want to say, right before, about a year and a half before 1989 comes out, I'm dating this girl whose dad works at Universal Music Group, which isn't her label or anything like that, but was big up. So like I was seeing all the stuff going on. And there was this big thing going around like in the industry at this time, this email that like a lot of people were getting. There's basically this questionnaire that was like, would you like Taylor Swift if she went in a rock direction here? It was like, what if she sounded like, it was kind of this thing, like this big questionnaire survey testing
Interesting.
industry people and like people, yeah, people in the know. Like, would you be interested in a basically Paramore-esque kind of rock direction from Taylor Swift? So
so
before
that was before.
1989 came out,
You
is
said
before
before
1989,
1989,
before she goes full pop. So I was thinking Taylor Swift's going to come back and she's going to be a rock artist.
but do you
But
know
then
what
she went
happens?
pop.
Here's my expertise. Do you know what happens on the 1989 World Tour?
What are we talking?
Was that the
The
one when they brought
1989
out?
World Tour, very famously, one of the pieces of evidence that is always presented to me, she does a version of We Are Never Getting Back Together where she busts out the Jag Stang, not just any Jag Stang. She's got like
Plays
a,
a Jag Stang?
she plays a Jag
Ah.
Stang. No, wait, a Jaguar. No, it's just a Jaguar, not a Jag Stang. Sorry, my bad. But it's a
But
Jaguar, it's a
still,
Fender Jaguar. And it's a Johnny Marr signature Jaguar
oh
from the
wow,
Smiths. And she
yeah.
plays a special version of We Are Never Getting Back Together, and it's gritty and growly. Oh, there you got it. There you go.
Pro Jag in this
We're
house. We
pro
play
Jag.
Jags here.
But yeah, she plays a Jaguar, and it's like a grittier version of We Are Never Getting Back Together on the 1989 World Tour.
You got to send me that link.
I will, man. It's
That's
yeah, it's
sick.
Yeah, I
growly,
don't
and
think
she's
I've
like
ever
in
seen
black
that.
leather and everything. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. I think
Um,
I've seen the photo of it. I know the exact, like, where she's, yeah, I know the,
yeah. But I
yeah,
want to
I
take it
haven't
back to
seen
your
the
point
performance.
about the singer-songwriter thing, because I think what turned me, because I was arguing with this, and I will give a shout out since you asked like the origins. There's a girl who was on TikTok. I think she's back on TikTok. She kind of left for a while. Her name was Tina. She started doing way before this
Nina.
became popular. She was doing like, everyone was doing emo night. She was doing Swemo
Hmm.
night, the Swemo experience with Taylor and emo as a DJ. And she gets credited with like coining the term. I read about Swemo originally in an article in Alternative Press,
Okay.
and that's where I started picking
Damn.
this up. And I would get tagged, like I said, in evidence things, and they'd be like, "Has anyone tagged that Swemo guy yet?" Or the Swemo guy. That's how I
That's
became.
amazing.
That's how I
That's
became the Swemo
sick.
guy. But to get back to your point about singer songwriter, I think the thing that proved it to me was because everyone had like the connections. Oh, she's friends with Haley Williams. She did the song with Boys Like Girls. Dashboard was at her friend's birthday party or whatever. But when people started showing me what her music sounded like, especially the music that I wanted to write off, when you stripped it down to just her and the guitar or just her and the
Yes.
piano. Because I can think of other artists who I don't consider like emo necessarily, but like I don't necessarily get into like Lady Gaga, but I know that if you sit Lady Gaga down at a piano, like
She'll
Lady Gaga
fuck
is
you up.
exactly
She will
Yes. Oh
beat
100%.
yeah.
up. She will fuck. Yeah, no,
Yes.
that,
Yeah.
yeah,
She'll
yeah.
make you
And
cry.
so
Yeah.
I hadn't heard Taylor do that until somebody started sending me like, there's a particular song, and now it's one of my favorite songs, but not the album version. There's a song called "Death by a Thousand Cuts,"
Are you
Oh
talking about the
yes,
yes.
Tiny Desk
Yep.
the
version?
Tiny Desk version,
The
You
Tiny Desk
exactly.
fucking
version.
literally this weekend I was telling
Yeah.
someone how like when that came out, I wrote like a whole song where I just ripped off like I saw the chords she's playing. I was like, that's great. Like
Yes,
that's one
just
of the
do
and
that.
yes, yes,
Yes.
it's
I
so
don't love
fucking emo,
I
bro.
don't love the album version, but yes, her behind the
Oh,
desk with the guitar, and that's just
It's
it. I
perfect.
watched that and I was like, well, that's
ah,
emo as hell. Like, that's
yes.
like
Yeah.
and
I
and
almost
so
feel like
that's
that's
what
why she
like
came
took
out
me
with
over
Tortured
the edge
Poets
where I was
Department.
like, yes, these are all still here. And then for me, like, yeah, by the time we get now to Tortured Poets Department,
I
I'm like, oh
know.
well,
I
Mask is
mean, yeah,
off.
but Torture
Oh
Poets
yeah.
Department's out. I mean, she's dropping like starting line references. Do we know what that
Exactly.
song
Yes.
was? But it's Best of Me, right? It's either Best of Me, Island, or Bedroom Talk.
So,
I
It's Best of
was
Me.
it Best of
so
Me?
It's
so
gotta
I have a
be.
theory. So once again, there's a lot of argument about what songs about Joe, what songs about Matt, or whatever.
Yeah.
But Matty Healy from 1975 has been known to play Best of Me, or at least a chunk of the Best of Me, out on tour.
There's clips of Maddie
It's
from
on my
Maddie
TikTok, buddy,
Healy
right
Yep.
singing.
now. There's clips of
Ah,
Yep.
Matty Healy singing the Best of
And I think
Me,
I've
he's
never seen
mentioned that he
that.
or
likes
singing Best of
starting
Me.
line too. Like in interviews, he's talked about them being an influence. So
Uh-huh.
that's a Maddie
The
song.
1975, one of these bands we're talking about too, where they're like
They
emo, but
all.
not really
I
emo. They
mean,
kind of are, right?
So Amanda,
Shit.
you put them on the list, and I will admit I am not an expert on the
I was trying to do
1975.
that subtly there, yeah.
yeah.
That
So
sounds
I
like a
would.
good segue. Tell me about the
Yeah.
1975's
Well,
emo
I'll tell you
influence.
one thing. If you don't want to hear us talk about the 1975, I know a guy, Will Ramsey. He's
Yes.
known as My Emo Diaries. And actually today, 2 days ago, as of when you're listening to this, there's a Robcast episode that dropped today. Thanks to my executive producer as well, Amanda, on that one. It is up on the internet where Will dives into the 1975 very big, and they are very much like a pop band that is
Yeah.
basically one of us.
Really?
Yes.
They are one of us. I'll vouch for them.
Yeah, I think some of their
It's a fine
early,
how to
so
say, you know.
from what I've read about them, I mean, I've listened to their music and there's definitely elements. There's an album they came out with, I think it's 2019, Notes on a Conditional Form. There was an actual interview where they talked about it was like their emo phase album. They actually talk about that. And there's one of the songs, People, he's screaming on the album very much like the sound of our like scene. But from their early days. I mean, they were like a band covering pop punk emo songs
Yes.
and their early stuff, and then they segued into a really good pop rock
So
band,
I was in a
right?
like pop, power pop, pop punk, pop rock, the Wild Young Hearts in the early 2010s, you know, in like 2013, 14, we're pushing hard. And a lot of the other bands in that kind of thing were like the 1975 in the neighborhood. Like, and I would kind of classify these bands as they were like kind of like emo adjacent, our scene adjacent, but like they were kind of more for like, and this sounds like, I mean, ignorant, but this is how I felt at the time, where it's like those are the bands for like the girls that didn't really like music, you know what I mean? That because like it was like the hot guys, and it was kind of like, you know, it was like the stuff that was maybe more popular. So it's like, oh, I like this,
Yes.
but they just didn't know this yet, you know what I mean? So I kind of wrote it off at the time, but then like then you hear the songs and you're like,
Are
okay,
you
that's a
are you
fucking bop.
talking like? See, because I guess I once again I'm a little ignorant on the 1975 aside from the Taylor
I'm talking
connection.
like chocolate girls, like
Chocolate,
sex, like
yeah.
those
Oh,
songs that are like just like bops. You know, he's got one where he's just like,
The
we
lyrics
don't
aren't
know
necessarily
this. No,
emo. Yeah.
he's got one line where he's like, we got guns hidden under a petticoat. And hearing that from a British guy is just like so hard. I'm like, you got
Yes.
guns hidden under your petticoat? Like, holy shit.
Great
Thug.
accent there,
You
Rob.
can't even have guns over there. Like if he had guns in his thing, like that's serious stuff. Like they do knife fights in Britain, so gun is basically like being strapped with a bomb in America.
I'm gonna have
Hardcore
to
shit.
dive deeper in that lore, especially if I'm if I got all my Swifty lore on this side, you know.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
as a Swiftie, you're supposed to hate Matt, though. I don't really, right?
Yeah, I don't think you're supposed to like Matt Healy. I mean, but it tracks like if him being an emo like fan tracks because she also did date what is his name, Max, is that his name from Boys Like Girls, and that's They Don't Talk and it's a whole thing and it's a
Who dated Max?
Taylor Swift did. My sister goes into all this stuff because she's also a huge Swiftie, and so
I don't
Wait,
we
remember
have
who on the
you're
list.
thinking of,
no, not
no,
what's his
what's
name,
his name? His name is Martin. Is
Martin.
Martin
Sorry, Martin,
John,
not
Martin,
Max.
what, God,
Max
what's his name?
Martin,
You were
wrong
thinking of Max
person.
Martin. I was like, no, this
Oh,
isn't adding up.
Martin from Boys Like Girls. That's who she was. She dated him while they were doing that whole song, and yeah,
I didn't know that.
yep. But they look the kind of similar. So I mean, the tracks like she has
Yeah,
a
just,
type.
yeah.
But this is
Yeah.
not her dating. This is not about her dating history. But no, yeah, for me, I feel like 1975 is definitely emo adjacent. I mean, just from their roots and then some of their albums in particular, some of their songs definitely are influenced by our scene, and you can just see that in.
Yeah, that's big. Yeah, they're influenced by it. I remember I think when they first came around, they went. I believe they toured with Fall Out Boy at some point on the when Fall Out Boy returned from hiatus. Like,
Not when I saw them. It would have been
okay,
later on, probably
I think
in maybe
yeah,
like 2015. Maybe they
but
opened with the Paramore, the Monument tour,
something like that.
perhaps.
But I remember at some point I thought they were linked, but maybe what was linked was like them and the 1975 at this point, like out of all the bands in the world, like you know, like in terms of area, they had toured more than any other band over those
Yeah,
years, and like where they were
good point.
grinding like a rock band, like a punk band, and just kind of had that pop like backing almost. But
that's
like they're
funny though.
real ones.
That Google search immediately brought up a 1975 covering Grand Theft Autumn. So yes, emo adjacent for sure.
Okay,
There
yeah,
we
yeah,
go.
yeah. That comes up in one of the first few. Yeah, emo Jace. Yeah.
Yep, they are.
Also, I
They
mean,
gotta take it.
with Taylor, like from Taylor from like 1989 onward, her main, collaborator is Jack Antonoff. Jack Antonoff
Yeah.
literally comes from a drive-through
Through
records band,
records.
Steel Train, and so like she's deep in it. Yeah, and yeah, just the age range.
I heard you guys talking about that last week, and I was like, "Come on, wait, hold on, you got to wait, you got to save that for."
You're killing me,
But yeah,
dog.
the drive-through
I know. I
connection
kept
was
trying.
crazy. I remember when someone discovered that, and they were like, "Yeah, yeah, if it wasn't for like late '90s ska, we wouldn't have Taylor Swift records." And I was like, "Excuse me, wait, what? Like, huh?" And it was walking through the
Good
drive-through
Yep.
angle.
connection for Jack Antonoff and all that, and but
See,
yeah,
this is
powerful,
just further
powerful
proof
songs.
that ska needs a resurgence, and everyone should love ska.
Yeah.
Hey,
I'm gonna be a big backer for ska
uh,
coming back in
I love
2025.
ska.
This whole weekend, all my notifications, for some reason, every video that I have where I'm like skanking and they're in their Scott, it was just blowing up. And it's like, I don't think this is a good sign for things to come. If like the
He's
ska
talking about the
video is doing
economy.
60,000 views, I was like, yeah, like, is this like a recession indicator? Is this an apoc? Like, I don't know
Probably.
if. Yeah, this
Is
is the music that plays at the as the Titanic goes down. Shout out
is
Tony.
the, is that our shout out Tony? Is that our version of like Kesha dropping a new single?
Right,
Ska's
yeah,
back.
this is
Like
Yep.
ska is like our scene's version of recession pop. It comes around like, once you
we're
hear
in
them fucking
trouble.
trumpets, yeah, your mom and dad are selling the second house,
Fishbone and Less Than Jake are on the Warp Tour. We're screwed. Like we're
Yeah,
Yes.
we're
Right.
fucked. Yeah, I'm never gonna own a home.
Hey, Fishbone has a new single out too. See, it's all coming back,
yeah.
guys.
It is all coming back.
Recession pop is out.
Got a nice
That is
wrestling toy
fantastic.
collection behind you. We didn't mention that on air, but it's a beautiful thing. Let me ask you really
Beautiful
quickly before we
collection.
dive on. Give me your Mount Rushmore of 4 wrestlers. It's fucked, I know. It's
Wait,
terrible.
hold on. Like all around or just pure worker?
No, all around, all around. If we go pure worker, we're gonna
Well,
get
okay,
similar
see,
ones,
because
yeah.
that's like I cannot deny Hulk Hogan. Then, like, you cannot
Well,
deny.
I'm keeping him the fuck off my mountain.
Are you?
I'm keeping him the
All
fuck off my mountain. Yeah,
well,
yeah, yeah. I'm keeping up. Anyways, keep yours. Yeah, let's hear it. Let's hear it. I mean, it's tough
you
to
said
deny,
all
but
around.
I'll
You said
deny
all
'em.
around.
Yeah, all around. Okay, let's hear
So
those.
if I'm doing all around, I'm keeping Hogan. I'm keeping
HH,
Flair.
yeah.
Hogan, Flair, and then I'm probably going. Man, that's really on the spot. I'm probably going Austin and HBK. Then probably me personally.
Okay, I will go with the same four, except I will take away the
The
racist,
racist. Yeah.
and I will replace him with the greatest man that ever lived, who right now is maybe not being a great person, and maybe right now is
Oh,
confused and following the
oh,
wrong path. But we can't forget that he's done more Make-A-Wishes than anyone in history. I'm
John
talking about the
Cena.
face that runs the place, the greatest of all time. I'm putting Jonathan Cena on there solely for longevity,
There.
and
Yeah. That might be our 5 year age gap coming out too, though. But
that's
I
the
mean,
5 year. No, that's the thing is, I'm 5 years too old for John Cena too. But like something like I'm like, okay,
and I could,
of
I
all
could,
don't
the
I could,
ask
top
me my
guys.
five.
I could happily drop Hulk Hogan and we could
Actually,
talk.
I'll take John out. I'm Canadian. I got to put there. I'm from Alberta, Canada. I have to put
Oh,
Bret the Hitman
Bret the
Hart.
Hitman Hart.
Yeah.
See that
Amanda,
would
do you have a
actually
Mount
be
Rushmore of wrestlers?
Sure.
that would actually be our rivalry though, because I was an HBK kid growing
Okay, I
up.
was gonna
So
say
like,
no. Where I'm from, you had to side with Bret Hart. Like that's the most famous people up there. I feel like I mentioned on the last episode. Did I not bring up Bret Hart then too? And I was
You
talking about
did
the most
actually.
famous, like the most
famous
respected
Canadians,
Canadians.
yeah. Well, you
Man.
Two of
wait,
6 episodes
wait,
with Bret Hart references.
you'll love this in a second. But Amanda, I want to hear your Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, give me your Mount
Oh my
Rushmore. Yeah.
God, guys, you're okay. You're killing me. Okay, let's see. I will go with John Cena because I just like him in general. Randy Macho Set. What's his name?
Macho Man.
Macho Man Randy
Macho Man.
Savage.
I
I
will
Yeah.
go with
I could replace
Ric
Hogan with
Flair.
Macho Man. I'm good with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Ric Flair, Steve Austin, Stone Cold Steve Austin,
Give me hell yeah, yeah.
and then
Well, I mean, you already got four, right? That's the mountain. Your mountain's full.
four. I
You
mean, I
passed.
guess I would go with The Rock because that's the only other. I mean, I'm not gonna go with the Hulk Hogan, but who's that girl wrestler that they made the movie about, All in the Family? That
Paige?
The Rock
Paige,
produced?
yeah.
Soraya?
Yeah.
Paige, yes.
Soraya,
I'll put her in
yeah.
there. For one woman, I'll put her in there. There we go.
I'm sitting on a signed PCO
Wow.
old school
Canadian icon as
Quebecers.
well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
From a local indie show where they were doing a bring your own weapons, and I thought I would have him use this as a weapon, old school Quebecers, but instead he signed it and handed it back to me. So
Dick. So
With the Taylor Swift, we talk about the influences, we talk about Paramore. So we have to, if we don't talk about Paramore, we have to talk about the most infamous thing that's happened recently in terms of Paramore and another particular female artist who may or may not have ripped off their song Misery
I think she
Business.
legally had to say she
I
did.
think she
Olivia.
legally had to say she did, and that is Olivia Rodrigo.
Olivia. Shout out to
Who is-
Temecula's finest.
Yes, who it's so funny because the first time I ever saw her was on High School Musical, the series, and I was
You
like, I had no
watched that?
idea. Oh, I sure
You're
as
like,
hell did.
oh, okay.
I
Damn.
sure as hell watched that. I was all invested in her. And
I was a big
Joshua
HSM
Bassett's-
fan, obviously, as a guy that played in music in bands and also played on the football team. Troy
You
Bolton
were
was
Zac
very ahead of the
Efron.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zac Efron. Yeah, he was a trailblazer. That was kind of my Jackie Robinson in high school.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
yeah, I didn't watch the remake that was like a musical of a TV show, a musical. I didn't see it.
She was great in it, but no, I mean, her
that driver's
songs
license song,
like
though.
Sour and Guts, like those albums are just the
They're so good.
lyrically peak, like emo.
They're so
lyrics to
good. Like
me.
you guys know the song "Deja Vu." That song. I mean, that's the one where she rips down. On that one, she rips off Taylor, and on that
Yeah.
Taylor song, she's ripping off Cruel Summer. Where there's a part of Cruel Summer where I remember thinking like, she looks up,
Yeah.
Green Like Devil. I remember thinking like, was that Haley? Like that
Yeah.
wasn't Taylor singing that, So it's like there's some weird loops here.
And you mentioned, I know Rob's got his name off the top of his head. I can't think of it right now, but
Yeah,
her
Negro.
producer's
Yeah,
the guy from As Tall as
it's Tall as
Lions, right?
Lions.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so Olivia Rodrigo's career, like not from day one, but certainly since she left the Disney world,
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
been
From driver's
steeped
license
in,
onward is with Dan. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
has been steeped in emo culture. And so, yeah, I'll admit, I heard that, I heard "Good for You," and I did not hear it at first, but I was like, oh, it's like, is pop punk back? Like, this is awesome. Like, this is
But
great.
yeah,
And
it's
then somebody was like, it's Paramore, right? And I was like, shut up. And then like played it back, and I was like, oh
you mean it's Paramore, but it's not Paramore. Yes.
yeah, like
Yes.
Um,
My
Yeah.
only knock on Olivia sometimes is I feel like, for example, like Good For You, I feel like sometimes her songs are a little too derivative in the sense that like you can tell what the artist is she's ripping off on it. You know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah.
as you know, as like a
Yeah.
fellow guy that I'm sure has ripped off many artists just like I have, you got to kind of blend it a little. You got to take it a couple seconds, where it's not obvious like, oh,
Yeah.
this is a Green Day song. It's got to be like, you got to kind of bury the lead a little in there. And I think sometimes that, like, for like, what was the Vampire? Was that the first single for the
Yeah.
new one? Like that was
Yeah.
very like MCR adjacent to me. Whereas like this is pop
Yep.
MCR. Like it just kind
right.
of the
Yeah.
theatrics.
And
Like
then
it's
you
just
called it
like
Vampire. Yeah.
right, yeah,
Yeah.
come on.
Right.
Like, yeah, you're one of us. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And I think she's talked about that too, in her youth and stuff, being very heavily influenced by emo music, listening to, actually did, I believe, mention MCR in
That makes
her,
sense,
like,
yes.
yeah, that what she used to listen to. So,
Thing is too, let's imagine she's how old is she? 23 years old? 22,
sure.
25. I don't know. I mean, like you gotta keep in mind these bands are very big between like the years 2005 to 2010 for the most part, like commercial peaks. If you're under the age of 20, like these are like the
22.
equivalent of our 90s bands, that's was their Goo
Yes.
Goo Dolls or Everclears or
Right.
those
Yeah,
bands. It's just
100%.
like that's like the mom rock or like the ones you'd hear, and it's like you don't really
Same.
associate with a genre or cool or uncool. They're just great songs.
Yeah, no, exactly. You're 100% right. And she is in that. She's 22, so she's right in that age range.
I was just looking it up. It's behind a paywall, and nobody needs to pay for stuff like this. But like
No, don't
Olivia
pay.
Rodrigo's emo influence was so obvious that like the Washington Post actually has like an article, and it's from Rites of Spring to Olivia Rodrigo, how emo
That's
took over
sick.
pop. And
Yeah,
it's like
that I
I'm
can
like
agree with
I'm like
that.
who
Wow,
made
yeah,
that
dating it back.
connection? Like
The Washington Post paying tribute. Emo founded in Washington, D.C. And here we are with Olivia Rodrigo, the new face of the fifth
yeah.
wave of emo. Yeah.
And I'm like I don't
Exactly.
know who decided Olivia Rodrigo was the face of fifth wave emo, but
Yes.
Fuck
somebody
it.
did.
I
Sorry
mean, I don't
to,
know.
yeah.
Her MGK, I guess I might take her over MGK.
Right.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah. I don't
Well,
know. I don't know.
I feel like
What
you
you
guys
think,
spent a
God?
lot of time on that one last week, but we can acknowledge, like, I know you mentioned Juice
Yes.
WRLD and MGK. Obviously, those
Juice
ones
WRLD,
were,
Yeah.
yeah. I love it. You know what we didn't talk about last week? I feel messed up. We didn't. There's another one of them, isn't there? That I'm not thinking of. Well, we talked about Juice WRLD, Lil Peep.
well, and I don't know if he
Who was I
counts because
Uzi
missing?
Vert.
he wasn't really like a SoundCloud rapper, but one that I did think of was like Kenny Hoopla. Like, you guys know
Oh,
Kenny
Kenny Hoopla
Hoopla?
was kind of tight. Well,
Yeah.
he was on the Barker label.
Yeah,
Oh, so then that makes
That was
sense.
his
Yeah.
label, yeah. So
yeah,
I was confused by that. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. There was
Yeah.
which that was kind of like that was like pandemic era, like '01 or so. I remember that's when the MGK stuff comes out like that. There was like a big thing then, but everything, all the pop punk J stuff then sounded just like Tony Hawk Pro Skater. Like
right.
the Hoopla
Yes.
record to me is just like, okay, we're just kind of we're doing Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
Yeah.
I
So
We're
like
not
that
taking our own
record though.
in
spin on,
regards to
which I like it, but
MGK,
it's
Yeah,
not taking its own spin on it. Really.
yeah. So in regards to MGK, I was watching a video and the girl was like, "Is this a Blink-182 song or is this an MGK song?" And it was just like the intros, right?
yeah. If you just hit
And
the
I know,
guitar parts,
yes, and I was like,
It's so,
"Well,
it's so yeah.
I could tell what a Blink-182 song." I was like, "I think I've listened." Like I could tell, but they do sound
so
very,
similar.
very similar.
Yeah, I remember there was
So
like one
similar.
on that first record, like World War III. I remember hearing it. It's like this is very
Yes.
clear. Like it's almost no effects adjacent, like but Blink One Eighty
Yep.
Two produced style where it's like those are the
Right.
chord progressions that we hear. Like that's what we were saying last week. It's like it's a gateway. Like if you didn't know any better, you
Yeah.
hear that, you're like, hell fucking yeah. I mean, it's the Oasis, no offense to I love Oasis, this is ignorance, sorry. It's like the Oasis to the Beatles, where it's like if you don't know the Beatles, you hear that.
Oh no!
It's
The
pretty. Let me
Gallagher's gonna
take
be
that
mad
back.
at you for
I
that.
take that back. I love Oasis. I'm not trying to throw in shade. I love Oasis. It's the pretty odd era of the Beatles versus versus the Beatles. Like if you didn't know any better and you heard like, "Hey,
Yeah.
moon, please forget to go down," you're like, "Oh, this is so magical." But it's like, brother, they're just doing fucking Beatles.
Yeah.
We
And
don't know any better.
and
We're
you know,
listening to
with
a lot of Beatles.
whether it's MGK or Juice WRLD or whatever, because I know you guys talked about it last week, but like I was right at that edge era too, where I can remember, shamefully, but that's what all the like white rappers were doing in like the late '90s, just with like classic rock and stuff like that. Like that's how I got
Yes.
into Kid Rock. Kid Rock was ripping off Aerosmith and
Yeah.
all the
Yep.
old hair metal riffs and stuff
Yep.
like that. And
Kid Rob
so
at kidrock.com. Yeah.
yeah,
My first email.
was it really?
Oh God.
It was. It's the second time I mentioned that on this show. I'd really like to not mention it again. We're not down on Kid Rock references after
No
today.
more Kid
And
Rock
so
reference.
but the idea
But
that
it's true.
like
It's true. Yeah.
but the idea that somewhere like MGK was like in his head just hearing Blink 182 riffs
Well,
Yep.
and
it's you hearing
thinking
the
about
music
how
when
he
you
was
were
going
a
to rap
kid.
over them.
Yeah.
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 I
And
mean,
it
the
makes
same thing
sense.
where Kid Rock in late 90s, he's thinking the stuff he grew up on in the late 70s or wherever the fuck, he was living with
Yeah.
his rich dad that owned the car dealerships, not
Right,
living in the ghetto
exactly.
of Detroit like the Insane Clown Posses or M&Ms. But anyways, like it's the same thing. Like you're an MGK, you grew up on that music. Like if you're
Mm-hmm.
between your ages and 5 years younger than me, you grew up on like the emo pop punk hits of the day. You grew up on R&B and hip hop songs, and you guys, as someone people who grew up in flyover states too, like I grew up in a flyover province. You knew the country songs, like you heard that, and it all just kind of was one thing. That's how we get the fucking Jelly Rolls. Like is Jelly Roll emo at Jace? I mean, he's got like face
I mean,
tattoos. Like I mean, I don't want to put
right?
him there, but he's a
He's
pretty
going on
emotional
tour with
man.
Post Malone.
Well, that,
He's going on tour with Post Malone, who we know used to have an emo
Look at
band.
well,
that
you
nice
say
set of hair you got
References
there. Look at
Fall Out
that,
no,
Boy.
you
beautiful.
were gonna go
Whoa!
Posty. I was gonna say one that's not on our list that I always get, even when I sing, is Hardy. If you're familiar with Hardy,
Yes, Hardy.
because
He's my
that's
Hey,
the.
boy.
Rob
I
is
work with Hardy.
familiar with
That's
Do you
my
Hardy.
work with
boy.
Hardy?
Yeah,
He
well, I mean,
does.
I don't directly. I'm affiliated with his record label. Those are my boys. Hardy is the fucking man. My dude. This is a scoop, but this is so deep. I hope these people aren't here and get mad at me. My dude in this, Blame My Youth is this band that I'm friends with here. The guy Sean Van Vliet is awesome. He was in Empires, but he has a single coming out in June called Hero. And like a month ago, we're so hyped. I'm like, when's the recording of Hero going to come out? Because I had all these ideas for them for like the promotional videos for us to do, like for the campaign around it to market it. And he's like, "Oh, have you not heard the final one? Hardy's on it. That's why we're waiting till June." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He takes me in the other room and he's like showing it to me. I'm just like, Hardy is this like. I was like, it was such a sick song, and you guys will hear it in June. Like, and like, we're gonna do this whole like, we got these video ideas where we just make him out to be a piece of shit. I'm like, oh, there's a baby fucking crying here. Like, oh, there's a kid who fell in the well, and it's just like the gist is like he's not your hero. He's a piece of shit. But Hardy's on the track,
Gotcha.
and Hardy is exactly what you're saying. Hardy is like middle America. You grew up in that world where you heard all those things, but he's the emo version of that. Like he's one of
Yeah.
us,
Well, but
but
like, yeah,
darker.
but the rock and the country and a little bit of the hip
Mm-hmm.
hop, like all of
Yeah.
it smashes together.
Yeah.
I went into my local coffee shop like a week ago, and I had my hair down, and the poor girl behind the register, like
Wow. I
her
see the
breath
Hardy
went
thing
away for a
now.
second, and I was like, and she was like, oh, and then like she saw like, oh no, you have a beer gut, you're not him, and I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not
Sorry,
him.
I'm not him. I apologize.
Hardy didn't just randomly show up in like middle of nowhere, Northwest Ohio. I'm sorry.
Go get a
Nah,
coffee.
the pride of Philadelphia, Mississippi, my boy Michael Hardy.
That's
I first saw
amazing.
him perform, actually, funny enough to have you here. I first saw Hardy on, they played the Royal Rumble. Do you remember he played the Royal Rumble one year? He
Yes, he
did
showed
Sold
up
Out.
in.
And I remember like texting my
He got in
boys
the
as it
ring.
happens. Yeah, oh yeah, he got in the ring. I remember at one point, like either after the week before, the week after or something. But when they performed, I remember texting my boys and was like, "This is the worst shit I've ever heard. Limp Bizkit, a Jace, wrestling, butt rock music, this and that." And then like 2 weeks later, I'm like listening to it, and then like a month later, I'm like, "I woke up on the wrong side of the truck bed." Like I was vibing, and I told that when I first started working with this record label, I was like, "Yo, like I'm ironically." Love Hardy. You probably don't hear that from like the LA people they work with, like,
Yeah.
because they're all trying to, like all these like LA dorks. But I'm like, yo, I'm from Alberta. Like, same thing. You got like build like inland Pennsylvania, Ohio, like these inland Pennsylvania. I don't think it touches water. You know what I meant? Like the part that's not on the
Just
city.
Erie.
Same thing. Where like Hardy is like to me the soundtrack of like those people. It's Walmart music.
Yes.
You know,
Now wait
like
a
in the best way.
No, in the best way. It's the alternative. Is that
The
what we
The
call it
alternative.
alternative,
now?
yeah, post-farm
The
core.
alternative.
Now I do have to
Yes.
do a wait
Yes.
a minute here because we're going to deviate entirely, though. Rob, my wrestling friend here, you denigrated Limp Bizkit in terms of wrestling, but what is
Oh,
the
let me just say, like, yeah, let's not do
Oh,
that because I pay respect to My Way, you know,
yeah,
the greatest
the greatest
montage song of
video
all time.
package in the history of
Yeah, the greatest video
WrestleMania?
package, yeah. Yeah,
yes.
shout out to
That's
Austin the Rock. And look, I got love for Fred Durst, but I remember just like hearing them and being like, there's only one Limp Bizkit, there's only one Fred Durst, you know what I
yeah.
mean? Like,
We don't need a
also,
Yeah.
second.
before we move on really quickly, just fun fact to get it out there so the world knows. The reason my name is spelled Robb, the reason it's spelled with two B's, is because when I started watching wrestling, the road dog Jesse James would say, it's me, it's that
It's a
D-O
D-O.
double G coming at you with that, you know, that B-A-D-A double crooked, like that. So it was
Yes.
like, I literally spell my name with two B's to this day, 26 years later, because of the road dog Jesse James. My mom sent an email. It's like our whole family saying like, it was like me, like, like misgendering, like changing,
You.
like identities. And it's like, you
By
know
the
what?
way.
Robbie or his name is Rob with two B's. Oh, you didn't know? There we go. That's my boy. That's
Oh
my
my
guy, the road dog
goodness.
Jesse James. He just ran his mouth and he'd do like the fucking the shake, rattle, and roll punch
Well, then
thing, and
that
like
really just tracks then.
he just ran his mouth. That's all I did. Is carried a microphone in the ring and just fucking yaps. And I was like, that's my guy. You don't have to be athletic. You can smoke weed, take pills before your match, and still be cool if you can talk. Nah, he's got to rehab. That's not nice. But
I'll leave the road dog right here now
yeah,
for
but
just that purpose.
yeah. Anyways, where were we? Yeah.
Do we need to touch on Post Malone anymore? I believe is where we
No, I
left
think
off.
I think we touched on well, he's also
Post
going
is one of
country.
us.
Yeah,
He's
Post
kind
is
of
one of
come
us.
around though, because Post is the exact amalgamation of those things we're saying. But I remember, like on the record before the country one, do you guys ever hear the song "Chemical"?
Yeah, I think
I
someone
remember
even
hearing that
like
one and thinking, like, I'm like telling my buddies, like in the same way, it was like I'm like, this is a Blink song, like this is a Blink acoustic song.
I think
Okay.
someone actually put it with I don't know if it was Blink like riffs or if it was maybe MCR, but it fits really well with that kind of backing track.
Is because another artist reminds me of that where a song sounds like it. Like you guys know Phoebe Bridgers, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Kyoto. I've been saying for like 5 years to me, Kyoto sounds like a pop punk acoustic song, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's just like it's simple melody. It's like that sing songy thing. I remember telling people like I'm like, this is a pop punk song done by a different artist. Is Phoebe Bridgers and or Boy Genius, are they emo adjacent? I mean, we have a Connor Oberst connection there. Like, are they in this
Yeah.
world?
I mean,
Right?
I could see
I
I
would
Phoebe
don't
give
Bridgers
that.
like
Yeah.
for
in
sure
the
being a
same way
part of
we
it.
had mall emo and we had like Saddle
Yeah.
Creek emo. Like I feel
Yeah.
like they'd be the modern version of that Saddle Creek indie emo stuff.
Yeah.
To
Right.
be
I could see
kind of
that.
walks
Yeah.
that line, you know?
I think it would
You'll
walk
make the
that one.
Swemos happy with that one because they love themselves some Boy
They,
Genius.
I was gonna say the
Yes,
Love
they
Boy
do.
Genius, right? Yeah.
Oh
Thank
They
yeah.
you for
love
still
Boy
watching
Genius.
to the Wemos and the Taylor Swift fans. I apologize for the
And we're
yeah, I
not really
apologize for the VDs I've been drinking here, the vodka dews.
Vodka dudes.
So that's Mountain Dew in
Leave
there?
us some
Okay,
vodka
that's
don'ts.
Yeah, vodka
that
dudes. Yeah, yeah.
vodka
I call them
Jones.
VDs. Yeah, that's an old reference. People younger than us won't understand what a VD is. They changed that term. Yeah.
Did they?
They did
Well,
change
it's
that
like an
term, didn't they?
STI now. Yeah, they don't call
It
them
is,
VD. Yeah.
Oh.
yes.
They used to call them VDs back in the 80s, brother. I mean, I wasn't
Yes.
there.
Yeah,
I hear
yeah.
that
I
though.
mean, if you think about it, there are a lot of female artists that that Swemos are fan of that you could say are emo adjacent. Like
Gracie
Gracie Abrams.
Abrams is
Actually,
Gracie.
just
oh
secondhand
my.
seren is like
I,
yeah,
lit-
secondhand serenade at
I
Jace.
literally
Yeah.
did her. I did a full Patrick cosplay to her song "That's So True," like harkening back
Yep.
to 2005 Vans Warped Tour and the whole Pete and Mikey Way situation. It was a whole thing. You'd have to be there, but it's fine. Like, I mean, I think she's one of those. Chapel Roan. I know she's one for sure.
Works with
Whenever I
Dan
think,
as well.
yep, and
Mountain
whenever
Dew
I
is a
think of
really
like Hot
good
to
year.
Go, she's like, I wrote this song so you'd sleep with me. Like I'm thinking, yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a Fall Out Boy lyric that
That's
says
very
it's in.
horned up Pete style, where just like
Yeah, I
the
was like, that's
directness of
definitely
it.
been written there. Yes.
And so with Chapel, a very interesting thing happened that I've only really seen so far with like Taylor as well,
Yes.
where like the alt community and like emo punk like
We
jumped
kind of
on
latch on
Chapel.
and agree.
Yes, we
Yes,
Yes.
we
did.
like
And I,
we
Hmm.
claim her as one of us.
and
Oh,
specifically like
100%.
Pink Pony Club, like I remember like a lot of videos. I mean, I made one of them. There were like, it was like, I'm a straight white 40-year-old man. Like, why am I
You
sobbing
did
listening to
make that
Pink
video. I
Pony
remember
Club?
I
that.
used to spend
Um,
so much time at the Pink Pony Club. I
yeah,
used to
right.
work next door to it. Yeah.
Right.
Like
See,
well,
again,
it's
not
No, no, no,
surprised.
it's the
not the
Abbey.
actual Pink Pony Club. Why are we crying about the song Pink Pony
No,
Club?
yeah,
No, no.
I'd be thinking about it. It's like, yeah, that's the place I would go. Like, I would take girls, I'd meet girls out, or like if I was going to date, you'd meet girls. And I learned this from Uncle Ty. You take girls to gay bars because like it's fun. There's
Yeah, right.
dancing. There's
They're
no like
safe.
threating stuff for
Yeah.
them. There's no
No,
threatening
that's
stuff for
true.
you in
Yeah,
terms of
it's
other
great.
cool dudes to swooping on your lady. It's safe for them. They're having fun. And yeah, it's a vibe. So like I would meet girls at the Rainbow or something. I'd be like, want to go down to the Abbey, and we go there. And like I heard that song and I realized that's what she's
Great.
talking
Yeah.
about. I'm like, my girl Chapel. Like, I'm one of you. I'm a pink pony boy, you know?
But not to get too like touchy feely with it or whatever. I think one of the things with Chapel that was interesting that brought a lot of us into emo culture
Hmm.
was the idea. Chapel was music for a lot of people who did feel like, disconnected,
Oh
disenfranchised,
yeah,
Yes.
like
100%.
abandoned,
Yes.
and people
Yes.
found community because Chapel was writing songs. It was basically like, hey, it's safe. We're gonna live out like she's literally one of the templates. Like
Yes.
Lady Gaga's another one, but she's
Yeah, of
literally a
course.
template for being like, it is okay to be loud about who you are.
Gaga and Kesha,
Yeah.
And
same thing where I
yeah,
get to this. Like in the Robcast, I got plugged again. The Robcast
yeah.
episode just came out with
What's the
Will
name of
Ramsey.
it?
Like,
Was it? No.
the Robcast, which is streaming right on the YouTube channel here that you can stream. But like Will Ramsey, like, it's like, basically my straight white ass is like, what was it like growing up, as a queer person of color or whatever, the correct way to
Yeah.
say that. And it's basically like we talked about, it's like where so much of those 2000s pop punk emo bands were like queer quoted or, queer coded. And
Yeah.
like it was a
Right.
place where it was safe, where it's like we grew up watching, and I just always assumed Pete Wentz, like it's not even these guys, it's not even gay, straight or anything. It's just like they're all dudes and sometimes they'd be kissing other dudes and sometimes they'd be kissing
Yes.
girls and it was no
Yeah.
big deal either way. Like,
Well,
I
Yeah.
feel like
and
it made it more accepting, and if you were a young kid, you'd see that and think it was normal, maybe.
and once again, like I said, I'm a straight dude from the Midwest, but like in terms of like being okay with unlearning that it was okay for me to show emotion, show affection, just show affection to
Oh
my
Right?
yeah.
friends, and stuff
Hmm.
like that.
Oh yeah.
Unlearning some of those behaviors and stuff like that, and finding safety in that community where it was like we can be vulnerable. And for our community, it was like being able to say like we're messed up, like things aren't okay. I don't feel
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Um, and feeling safe. Well, like I said, chaperone in terms of sexual identity and sexual
Oh
orientation,
yeah.
things like that. People are finding that same kind of safety, and so I think a lot of us that came up emo kids, seeing another generation find that kind of safety was like it was like freeing. It was like healing our inner child, kind of in a weird
No, you're
way.
right.
Yes, definitely,
100%. Yeah.
definitely. Yeah. It's cool to see. Even like bit of a stretch, but even like I like seeing like Sabrina Carpenter. I'm a huge Sabrina Carpenter fan.
Yeah.
Her shtick is like, the young blonde starlet thing. You compare like the way she's treated to like a Britney, things like that. And
Oh
it's like
yeah,
Yeah.
it's so much
Brittany, who
better. It
was
doesn't feel Britney was sexualized like for dirty old men,
For
whereas like
men.
what
Yeah.
Sabrina's like it feels like it's for the girls. You know what I mean?
Oh, it
Like
is for the girls.
it's for the
100%.
girls.
and not only that, like Brittany was simultaneously sexualized and slut shamed, like at the same
Yeah.
Yes,
time.
at
At
the
the
same
same
time, it's
time.
like, yeah, it
Again,
was a terrible thing, and oh my God, this, yeah, I mean, yeah, all of them. It
to
was, I
be
mean,
to be
the world sucked, but
a pop princess in the late 90s, early 2000s was a
yeah,
very trying time. I
Well,
can't even imagine.
and it's so funny you mentioned Sabrina Carpenter because I was thinking about Sabrina Carpenter too because even as we're talking about these emo adjacent artists, like for me, I was thinking about how like any really good, well written pop song
Oh yes.
it's core, yeah,
can
can be
become
considered, yeah, yeah.
yeah because I was
Yes.
thinking about how like Daisy Grenade's cover of
The
Taste is
taste. Hmm.
just such a good rock
There's a
song.
Daisy Grenade cover of Taste. I've never even heard that. I
Oh
only know
yeah,
Was
it's
Daisy
so
so
Grenade
good.
because
good.
of you from like a few weeks ago.
Oh
Okay,
yeah, Daisy Grenade
Yeah.
cover and Taste is amazing. Um,
Yeah. Keaton's voice is
they should come
just
on our
like
show. Yeah,
yeah.
they
They
should.
should come on our show.
I know
plant
a guy.
seeds.
No, you're right. I mean, if it's a really good, well-written pop song, sometimes it really does translate to our scene really, really well. But no,
I think
Chapels for
too, like.
me, 100%.
A lot of those songs, yeah, like if you strip any song down to it, like at its root, it's like four chords, acoustic, whatever, this or that. But a lot of like modern music, a lot of it isn't strippable in that same way because so much of it is like electronic based, where I think
Right.
like a lot of the modern
Yeah.
pop girlies, especially, and the music from our era, like it boils down to an acoustic guitar or a piano. Where at the end of the day, like a
Yes.
Taylor
I
song,
used
any
to.
Taylor song, you can strip it down. It's like, okay, she's playing a
She
one
was.
six four five there on this, and it's in the key of G, and she's singing like it's shit. She's doing starting line, you know. She's doing this. Like
Yeah.
there's a simplicity to it where it's like it's universal, and those girls are kind of all coming from that same place. There's that
Yeah, yeah.
vulnerability thing.
Are you still
Yeah.
songwriting? Are you, or is it just beats? Is it all just processing? Is it all
Yes,
just
Yeah.
exactly. Like it's there's the beat and then this or that, which is that kind of music that I don't really relate to. But like these other ones where it's like you strip it down, guitar and lyrics, like that's the song.
Well, we've been talking about a lot of female artists too. And I have to note, so for someone who's, I was on the tail end. I mean, I was like 18, 19 when like Miley Cyrus and all of them were coming up. But Disney, I don't want to say that we could give them some credit for all of this like emoification of like, especially female artists, but Hilary Duff, Miley Cyrus, Demi Lovato,
I say
who's
Demi?
actually like Demi hardcore.
And
Like she,
Demi
I
put
think
out like a full
Holy,
on rock
The
album. I was
rock
gonna
album
say.
yeah,
fucking
the rock
rips. I
album, right?
legitimately
So
like
what?
that
Dude,
What
album.
was the so the
her
song was
on
"Skin of
Fall Out
My
Boy
Teeth," but
Irresistible is
the
amazing.
album
But
was
it was yeah, the Skin of My Teeth song was basically
Is
the
it
Celebrity
Holy?
Skin, right? It's very Celebrity Skin
Yes,
esque.
yeah.
Yeah.
yes,
What
yes.
was that
Very
album
celebrity.
called? I can't remember.
Well, I was gonna
I'm
say, are
not
we
on my
PG or
computer.
not
My computer
PG? Yeah,
seems to be
right.
taken out of my home. Yeah, I don't know where it went.
Yeah,
Yes,
We can
but
say
PG
I'm
whatever we want. We
PG
can
telling
say
you,
whatever we
show.
want. No, we can use all the curse words we want. It's yeah,
No, the
rated
album was
R.
called
yes.
"Holy Fuck."
Holy
Okay, yeah,
fuck,
well, we
yes,
can say
with
it.
Yeah,
There we go. Okay.
a
No, that
V.
was a
It's
great
a
record. She had a song in there, City of Angels. And I remember sending it to my buddy where she's talking about like at the saddle room, I go down on you or something like, or the saddle ranch. She's talking about like fucking riding the horse. I'm just like, I wish I wrote this song. Like it is just greasy. Or then she got the one. She's like, it's like you call me they, but I'm still daddy's girl. Like
yeah.
yes,
She and she was
great
blowing
work,
off.
great
She was
work.
blowing off that Disney image for sure at that point.
100%.
And that
Yeah,
but she was the weird not weird thing, the like I guess cool thing. Like she was trying to be very authentic. Like she was showing up at emo
yeah,
night.
No, Demi,
she did.
yeah, she's cool.
And
She's a
I
dog. She's a
remember at
real
that
one.
time, like they were asking like who she would want to collaborate with. She's of course at Paramore, and so she
I feel
seemed,
like she threw in a couple deep cuts too. Like no, she was legit. Like you can tell. Like
Oh yeah,
she was about our world. You know. Like yeah, she's.
yeah. That it kind of shocked me because I will admit, like when she started to like turn the corner and she was like, "Oh, Demi Lovato's gonna put out a rock album," like I was skeptical. I was like, "Oh, this is a put on." But like the longer she was in it, the more I was like, "Oh, this feels pretty authentic."
Well,
And
and her
I
voice
know,
is made for it too,
let's think
man.
of it
Her
too. Like
voice.
Demi's about the same age, like as the my like I have some cousins and my little brother 5 years younger than me. So imagine you're 5 or 6 years old, 7 years old. Avril Lavigne comes along, and it's the girl punky poppy thing with the tie, and then Green Day comes along with American Idiot,
American
where they
Idiot.
take over again for that second wave of Green Day fans, where that's the aesthetic and this and that, and then like my Cam, as you're a couple years older from there and you're starting to get mad at your parents. And even like on the pop side of it, the Jonas Brothers kind of thing was kind of in
Yeah,
that same thing where it's kind of like that poppy punky, like emo-y kind of aesthetic where that was like the white suburban culture look
Well,
at the time where it's like you got the
yeah,
you
hair, you got the thing.
you mentioned that earlier, and I was like, I didn't even consider like some of those bands that were like pop bands, but were also like the punk bands because like the Click Five or
Yeah,
Five
well,
Seconds
there's
of
yeah.
Summer,
No,
stuff
you're
like
right.
that. Like
5 Seconds
Yeah,
of Summer, like to me,
yes.
like that was a band
So
where
yes,
they should have been like same thing. What I was talking about earlier. Yeah, like when I was my band, like there was the bands at the time, like 1975 Neighborhood, but like 5 Second Summer was a big one. I remember going down. I was going down to the Rainbow Room, and next door there was a line, and it was punk looking kids, like pop punk looking kids. Where I was like, "Is this who?" Like it looked like a good Charlotte Crowd 2003 or something like that, but it was 2013. I remember asking them like, "Who the fuck's playing?" And they're like, 5 Seconds of Summer was playing at the Roxy Theater, and it was
right,
like they're like a YouTube band, but they're managed by One Direction. Like that sounds dumb,
yeah,
this and that. But it's like, no, those first couple records they have where they're pop punk,
oh,
like
they were
I'm
definitely
oh
pop
sorry.
yeah,
punk.
They
solid
kind of
records.
Rick. They're a better version of that MGK shit we're saying, where it's a little derivative,
Right.
but
Yes,
like they bop.
yeah.
Like she
I
looks so
remember
perfect. Type
they
song.
were in they did 2023 when we were young, and I had to barricade with my sister because
Oh.
she is a massive Five Sauce fan. Like We've seen them several
Oh.
times because of that. Like she loves Five Sauce. Luke Hemmings is like everything to
Yeah,
her.
I saw
And
them at I met them at a Good Charlotte show here one time, and I was just like,
go and good.
the
Speaking of
two of
Five
them,
Sauce and
the
Good
blonde
Charlotte,
guys there.
they
Oh yeah, they
wrote.
wrote.
They wrote together, right?
Yeah, that kind of
Yeah.
inspired Good Charlotte to come back. Actually, is they did the
Mm-hmm.
solo Man Brothers record, and then they
Yep.
wrote with like 1D on a song that got scrapped, and also Five Sauce. They were like Amnesia or something. And then they
Yes.
were like,
Yeah,
shit,
I love that
people
song
want this
too.
sound. Like, why don't we just bring
Amnesia's so
back our
good.
bands? Yeah, why don't we
Yeah,
just bring back Good
but
Charlotte?
it was so funny because they came on like after Yellow Card, after Something Corporate, after Pierce the Veil, Newfound Glory, and then it's like Five
Let's
Songs,
see.
and I was like, this is gonna be a really interesting show
What are people
Now
because
that you
gonna do?
mention,
they
now that you,
still kill it. They kill it when they're and everyone was into it, even
they're
when
more
they
like
threw their
pop now,
massive
right?
dice out. They're very yeah. I mean,
Okay,
they
yeah,
have a lot
They're
of
on
they're more like.
hiatus now, right?
Are they? Oh yeah,
Oh,
they're
I would
doing
say
solo
80s, yeah.
records. I just
Yes.
mentioned the
All of them
Madden
are.
Brothers earlier. Let me
That's a
point out. I
great.
just realized right now you look kind of like you kind of got like a Joel Madden thing going on. You ever hear that?
There
Like
we
you look
go.
more Joel Madden than Hardy, especially with the hat and the goatee. Yeah, that's some hot Joel Madden thing. My son is named Benji Madden. I think I named him after the dog movies. But his mom
Cool.
allegedly named him after the guy from the band. So like that, yeah. Like I'm pro Madden Brothers.
Well, so I wanna take our Demi Lovato here, and I want to actually take us back to before I was the Swemo guy, because I
Yeah.
do want to throw one in here that I think was my gateway to all of this in terms of like your pop princess crossover. Before any of this, the one that in terms of like becoming, and not necessarily emo, but kind of now metalcore, was Poppy for me. The transformation of Poppy has
Oh,
got to be one of the wildest things.
I don't know
And
anything about Poppy.
you
Tell
you don't know
me.
anything about
I
Poppy,
kind
so
of know. I mean, I've seen her perform with Knock Loose. I know she was of our world, but I'm a bubblegum Sunshine California guy. Like, I'm not super into the
that
heavier side
then
of our
but
world.
you should know her early stuff then, because it was
What is it?
bubblegum. It was bubblegum California.
That's
Really?
insane.
Yes, so Poppy originated. So her original work, and to be fair to anyone listening who knows the story, there's some controversy here because she worked with like a producer manager guy who there's controversy because the
Okay.
project began and there was a Poppy before there was a Poppy called Mars Argo, but that's a whole
So they
nother
changed. We got an Andrew WK on our hands here.
kind of sort of. But
Okay,
Okay.
allegedly an Andrew
but
WK.
that's a
Yeah.
story before the story. But one way or another, so Poppy began. She was on YouTube, and the whole idea was like if AI built a pop star, what it would sound like and what it would look like on YouTube, like crafted to be a pop star for the internet age. And so she made music that sounded like that. And so like one of her first album, it's all bubblegum. Like one of her early songs that I really love is a song called Low Life. It's like reggae almost. It's very pop reggae.
Okay.
And but all of her stuff is like you guys might have heard even on TikTok. She got a song called "Girls in Bikinis." Girls
Haven't
in
heard any of
bikinis.
this. Like I've only seen her
No,
like screaming. Like has she had a
okay.
Well,
couple
I've only
songs? Also, like I had a roommate at one point that I remember like my buddy Garrett is married to Carly Gibson. Shout out Carly Gibson. She's an actress. You might know her from Hairdresser or from Hairspray, not Hairdresser. That's not a thing. Hairspray. She was the main chick in Teen Turnbull. Turnbull was that her?
really.
Teen. What's the main girl in Hairspray? This is a
I don't know.
tangent now.
I don't know
The
the
main
main girl in
actress
Hairspray.
in
Hairspray's not my
Hairspray.
favorite musical.
I don't know,
It's
but
not a
is
musical I
what.
like.
Anyways, but like I
Tina
remember like
sounds right.
he would have this thing where he'd say he's like about me. He'd be like, if the band has never played at like if they've never been on the wrestling show, Rob doesn't know them. I think Poppy has had like a couple theme songs on like NXT shows, right?
NXT,
Is that how I know
Io
her?
Sky and stuff. That's how you know her. Yeah.
Okay, yes, I know her. Yes,
Uh,
she performed with that with Io Sky, right? Io
yep.
Sky.
Yep. Io Sky.
Okay,
Yep. But that
yes,
is
okay.
after
I was
she
like,
went.
that's how I've seen her.
That's after she went more emo, hardcore,
Okay, because that's
metalcore.
yeah.
That's how I know
I
her. Is
remember
just that
Triple H
metalcore
talked about her,
Yep.
and I remember being like, "What is going on here?"
That is
Yes.
literally like when the transition was taking place. So
Okay, that's
so
my
she has an
entry point.
album. She has an album called "Am I a Girl?" and that is like sort of the end of or the transition of the Android AI Poppy into this
Interesting.
whatever she is
Real
now.
person thing.
Yeah, into the
Is
real
this a
person sort of
thing?
thing.
So
Okay.
she's doing
Uh,
full gimmicks. She's going full wrestling here. She's doing like a healed babyface turn
Yeah.
almost thing and
Kinda.
amongst herself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm
Uh,
fucking locked in on this.
And
Okay.
so in that album, like towards the end of the album, there's a song, and she, I think at one point described herself as like she wanted to go genreless. She wanted to like
Yes.
just be like, I don't have a genre anymore. So there's a song,
Yeah,
like I know you
genderless. Yeah.
mentioned, like Panic at the Disco having like that Beatles influence or whatever.
Yes. The
There's a
prettiest.
song called like X that has like it's almost that like folksy hippie Beatles sound. and then it
Cool.
just breaks into a metal song like that sounds more like Poppy today. And she
Today,
just started
okay.
experimenting more with that. And then she had stuff that
Nice.
sounded like Nine Inch Nails almost. And she was just doing all that kind of stuff.
Interesting.
And then, yeah, now she's playing with Knock Loose and she's screaming. And now she's
Yeah.
got a song out with Baby Metal. And
Yes, true.
so
Baby
she's
metal.
sort of embraced, like if you want to call like if you put pictures up, like it's funny that you said the heel face thing, because
Yeah.
like if yeah
You
if you
can
put
see her
pictures
like
up,
she
yeah,
switches like full character.
like literally like it used to be all pink bubblegum high heels, and now it's like
She went
Right.
the
black
Rhea
leather.
Ripley transformation.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly.
Mommy. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. We stand mommy around here. Yeah.
but I was into that before because I kind of loved the idea of an artist who had that
Women, you could say that.
bubblegum voice and
Yes.
that songwriting ability, embracing something heavier.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
all these artists we're talking about, Demi, Taylor, whoever,
Yep.
when they do embrace this, I do think because, sometimes even in our genre, like musicianship, vocal talent, you think you just louder and more aggressive and
Yeah.
whatever. So to
Yeah.
have
We
someone
don't.
that
Yeah.
really brings vocal presence to the or performance can really heighten the genre.
Yeah, I agree completely, and I think that's why some of the people they talk about being influenced by, those are the musicians in our scene that elevate emo music, right? Because if you go to any interview from Olivia, Taylor Swift, any of these people, they're going to mention the ones that have that talent and stand out in our scene among the rest of them.
Can I add someone to this list we're talking about here that I just thought of
Yeah,
that I
go
don't think
ahead.
was
Yeah,
on
yeah,
our
yeah, yeah.
outline? Zach Bryan. Zach
Oh,
Bryan,
interesting.
to be especially because like the interesting thing about Zach Bryan is like because like I like you guys, I got that caucasity in me as much as I try to fight it. The coastal elitist in me that has brown and yellow
It's
children. I
okay.
want to
Every
fight the
once in a while, like
caucasity,
a
but
good
I
Luke
got that I
Bryan
got that
song.
Walmart blood in me still. So like I remember kind of checking out the Zach Bryan. It was his self-titled one, the first one I listened to, and I remember hearing it and being like it starts with the like Fear Fridays poem and being like this wasn't. I was expecting Morgan Wallen or something. This is
Yeah,
Bright Eyes. Like this is what he's doing here
Oh,
is like it's Bright Eyes front bottoms Bruce Springsteen is what
oh,
this is. Like where I'm like, it's got like the horns in there. It's got this sadness and like this thing that's not quite country and it's not quite like red dirt country or this or that. I was
yeah.
like, brother, this is fucking Bright Eyes. And then I find out like well, one, he's problematic as hell, so he belongs in our scene. But also, he's one of us. He's one of us.
Yes,
He's a
yes.
tragic figure. But like he loves the front bottoms. He's playing MetLife
really?
Stadium, and they're opening for him. It's like the front bottoms are like one of the opening acts as
Crazy.
on his show, and it's like that's like this dude. He said like on his Twitter, he used to be very active, but he's basically been like, yo, like I wish I was an emo band. Like I want to be in a Midwest emo band, basically. Like that's what he's like in my dream.
Really?
Like that's like go listen to those records. Like think
That's
of it under like it's Connor Oberst
okay.
type Midwest, just like folky, rootsy music. But like it's we were talking about Connor earlier in the chat, but it's like kind
Yeah.
of like a maybe modern, little more polished Connor. We just don't want to acknowledge it. Problematic like Connor.
I'm
Yeah.
not. I have not listened to
Problematic
enough
like
Zach
Connor.
Bryan.
Well, I'm going to get mad at the guy for being drunk and being a bad boyfriend. Like, I'm not
Yes.
anyone to get mad about that. I understand that. Like, are we going to
Yeah.
cancel the guy for that? No. Like, no offense to Miss Brianna Chicken Fry or whatever, but like, I'm a Zach Bryan guy. Like, I think he is
Interesting.
borderline adjacent of our world. Yes.
So now looking at his discography, it looks like he also did a song with Casey Musgraves, who's in the country scene as well. But
Yeah.
she, in
I
fact,
consider.
in
Yep.
an interview, she had said that she wanted Golden Hour, her like 2018 album, to be like an emo album, like
Yeah.
have more emo influence. So I mean, there's another one for you. And of course, if I think about like modern pop, country, female artists, she's one of those that would
She's
fit
one
in
of the
our
goats
scene.
and most
Yes.
respectable to me. And
Hmm.
she's same thing as
Yes.
like we're talking about like
Yep.
acceptance and things like that and social issues. She's
But
especially in
she's one of
Nashville, a
yeah.
country where they're a little fucking backwards. She's very much been very
To this
pro.
day. Yeah.
It's like she's no, I'd also call that first, like especially like my only problem with Casey Musgraves is I'm so attached to like that first record or two, or like the for the trailer park one. I can't remember what
Yeah.
it's called now, but it's
Hmm.
like with those early, we're talking about being the waitress and stuff like that. And it's
Yeah.
same thing where it's very Bright Eyes esque to me, where it's bluegrassy, but it's not like
Yeah.
it has this like punk rock leftist feel to it, while also kind of just being like soft girl, soft boy, tender, diner, indie
Music.
folk, you know? Yeah.
Well,
Yes, but it's definitely not your traditional country.
and that's one too, because I think of like, and once again, and maybe it applies, but like a Tyler Childers or whatever,
Yeah.
like when you get back in,
Yeah.
when you get back into like country roots or whatever, I think there is a lot of crossover into what we would call emo or punk or whatever, your folksy, your bluegrass or whatever, because there is rebellion, there is angst and stuff that you're gonna find in there. So any country artist that's tapping into that, you're gonna find
Think
some
exactly like
art
right
stuff.
exactly what you're saying. Like at the root of it, like it's like there's four chords and the truth and a like an urgency and a youthful rebellion of I need to get the hell out of this town. You know,
You're
I
right.
mean, you could art like I've said like is Bruce Springsteen a pop punk artist? His whole thing is getting the hell out of his
Maybe
hometown. You
we
know
were
what I mean?
born to
Like
run.
we
Always
were born to
about that.
run. Yeah, it's like darkness on the edge of town.
Wasn't
You know what
Bon
I mean?
Jovi
Like
the same thing? Wasn't like that the whole
well,
part of living on a prayer? They
you're
were
right.
gonna
Like
make it
it's like
out.
everything is about that to some degree. Like that's the purity of music.
Yes.
But like when you strip it down, that's like one of the main characteristics of emo music. So I think like that's why when you start talking about these artists who aren't quite emo, but you think of them as emo, it's because we've almost reclassified like vulnerable, pure of heart, heart on your
Yeah,
sleeve, emotional rock and roll as being emo. But it's like at the root of it, that's what it
that's just
was. Rock and
music.
roll was
Yeah.
like, I want to hold your hand. You know what I mean? Like that's what it
Yeah.
was. Like
But
before it became you're in
there's
the
not a lot
club
of
or
hope
shooting
in
people
ours.
or
There's not a
yeah,
lot
or
of hope in
you know, hoe.
in emo
Well,
music. Not a lot of
and
hope.
I mean, Rob might have a point there that we've just gotten to a point where so much authenticity has been stripped from music that anytime someone is just
Yes.
like
It's kind of
so authentic, we're
vulnerable,
just like
right?
claim them, they're ours now. Like,
There are
Imagine like we're having like it's the same thing because I was gonna ask you about this before, but like okay, let's talk about artists before we think of these artists, like in terms of because we're thinking of like third wave 2000s onward, we're
yeah, yeah,
reclassifying
yeah, yeah.
artists, but look at the 90s. Okay, Boo Dolls, Third Eye
Lisa
Blind,
yeah,
Loeb,
Matchbox 20, Lisa
Matchbox
Loeb,
20.
like are these? They're not emo, and that's. I mean, you can go back further. The Cure
Natalie
and the
Imbruglia.
Smiths, Natalie Imbruglia. It's like there's a singer songwriter tenderness to it and a vulnerability where yeah, we call it pop rock or
Oh,
indie rock or whatever, but
I'll
like
I'll
there
drop a
is an
big one
emo
on you.
to it.
Counting Crows, man.
Counting Crows, I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
Counting Crows with Dashboard
they
last
are
couple years. Yeah,
adjacent as fuck. Yes, I'm a
Yes.
huge Gaslight Anthem fan, and Gaslight Anthem is
yeah.
literally just the Ramones meets the Counting Crows meets
Yep.
Bruce Springsteen. And like I didn't
Pretty much.
realize I would argue like 'cause, like Third Eye Blind, like these bands. I mean, you can go more indie, Built to Spill, like yeah, Counting Crows, Neutral Milk Hotel.
Yeah.
Like these bands get kind of classified. Like they weren't technically emo at the time, and they're not emo now, but like they are strong influences on our genre. I think you know what I mean.
Oh yeah.
Like I think
Yes.
Third
I
Eye
was just saying.
Blind, like Matchbox 20, like people kind of grew up on that, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, now we're just doing history of music, but like you had, once you had hair metal that was all about not taking anything seriously, and then you had grunge that
Yeah,
got like so
a little
serious.
too serious.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yes,
and
really
then
serious.
there kind of came this middle ground where just vulnerability became okay. Like I
Cool
think
and all.
interesting.
like Matchbox
Yeah,
20, I remember being like very vulnerable, Counting Crows being very vulnerable, but not to the
Yeah.
point of like we're just gonna destroy things.
no,
Yeah.
yeah.
And not
Like
going
it still
too
had hope,
deep.
and I always say like
Yes.
emo for me always has a tinge of hope to it because there's community in it, and so I
Yes.
could certainly see those artists being like precursors of what.
Free right. It's like they're not of this, but it's like you can tell that the people that made the music 8 or 10 years later
Yeah.
probably were a little influenced by that. Like you still grew up on Semi Charm
Well, I
Life and
think it's is
Push.
it Pierce the Veil. The drummer from I think the drummer from Third Eye Blind played on their recording session for Jaws of Life, their most
No way.
recent.
I had no idea.
Yeah, because
Interesting.
I think that Vic Fuentes is very much into like he's really into Pearl Jam and things
Yeah.
like that, and you can
Shout out
see
San
that because
Diego. Yeah. Free Vic.
Radiohead. He's done a lot of stuff around that area now, and that's really influenced Jaws of Life. But again, they're from our scene, and yeah, they also are big fans of Third Eye Blind, so I'm not surprised that they would use them as well. Overall, I think what we can take away from this episode is that our genre of music definitely has influenced what we see. That's
The most
popular
important one
today.
to exist, post of, yeah.
Yeah, which I think goes back to our first episode we ever did.
It's really every
That third
episode is a
wave emo.
rehash essentially with different tastes. Yeah, with different flavors on it. Yeah.
Exactly. The third wave emo is really truly the last great.
Well, I mean, in terms of In terms of like rock music now, aside from metalcore, like what else is doing anything interesting at this point? Like there's
No,
nothing.
yeah. Mm-mm.
I mean, God bless the emo. Like, we're interviewing Combat this next week, which will come out on a
Yeah,
soon
we are.
episode. But like Combat's one of my favorite bands. And it's like that kid is Holden is 20 years old. Or he had
Oh my
just turned
gosh,
21. It's like he's been releasing music since he's
literally
15
be his
years
father.
old. Right, it's insane.
Yeah,
I figured
right.
that
You
out.
literally
I'm like, how
could.
do I relate so much to this record written by someone that is literally 15 years younger than me? Like, wow, like, God damn it, I'm old.
Yeah.
Well, but like we said with some
We
of
all
this, some
think.
things are universal, and so they crop up in
Yeah.
music.
Hell
And
yeah.
then we can. It doesn't matter how old the person is who's writing it or the person who's listening to it is. At the end of the day.
Tell us where we can find you on the internet, Swemo Guy. Like, so you're on TikTok, right?
So if you want to find me, because I'm bad at the internet, I have like 3 different handles. So on the TikTok, where I'm the most popular, I'll be Ryan Strikes Back, or you can just search for the Swemo Guy. You'll find no. On Instagram, on Instagram, I am Emo Education, and I'm also the Emo Education on YouTube, and you can find me all those places. And yeah, come talk to me
Ooh.
about emo, come talk to me about Swemo, come talk to me about pro wrestling and Dungeons and Dragons, any of it. I am basically all things nerdy and pop culture. I'm there for. So
Fantastic. Thank you, Ryan, for
How do we
joining us.
find it? Yeah, oh,
we did that.
you
No,
We,
lead
we
we
the
did
way.
didn't.
that
Why?
part.
Oh yeah.
Now, how do we
What
find
is our
you?
next episode about?
Now, how do
There
we
we go.
find
All
you?
right.
You find us on the
So
internet at where you're watching it right now. It's Emo Kids Anonymous podcast on every fucking platform you have. You can find Amanda is amazing underscore Amanda, I think, probably on one of them. Another one, it's amazing Amanda Reels Talk, I think. I should have let her say her own one, but the screen thing here is weird where my face has been superimposed over hers, so I can't see her expression. But you can find me as at Rob Laffoon as well. And together, we are the Emo Kids Anonymous podcast. And today, we were joined by Ryan, the Swemo Guy. And next week, episode 7, I think it is. Oh, help my fuck. We got a
yes,
barn burner. What's the topic? I don't know. I'm moving the
I'll
thing.
tell you.
Take it over.
It'll be episode 8, actually. This is episode 7.
The 7. Holy
But
shit.
yeah, but
I've referenced this being the 6th episode like 3 times now.
it's good. But
Lord,
next week's
okay.
episode, we are going to dive into Rob's theory, the musical McRib theory,
Fucking go.
which
Let's
I'm very
go.
excited for because yeah, we can talk about a lot of bands that I enjoy
Talk
talking
all
about.
day,
So we're
musical
gonna be
McRib.
What's the musical McRib?
well,
So here's
you'll
my
have
idea.
to listen to the
I'll give you a little tease. The musical McRib theory is basically that it's supply and demand. That bands, the longer they stay around, the less relevant they get. So the best way as a band is to go away for a while. You put out 2 or 3 albums, you break up, you come back. Think of like a Blink-182. They musical McRib you hard. They go away, they come back. Green Day is not musical McRib. They stay around, they're consistent, but over time relevancy drops. You go away, you come back later on, you get that pop. Oasis,
Green,
they musical McRib the fuck out of everyone.
but Green Day did have the musical McRib because there's the stolen album that everyone thinks wasn't really
There,
stolen.
that's the
yeah
thing too. There's that lost period there between, yeah, and I mean, you could
period. Yeah.
argue, yeah, that dead era right there, the early 2000s, where they musical
Any
McRib hard.
anybody's favorite band musical McRib us one time? Anyone?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Well, they will be discussed because they did, sure. And even I would say it a second time, but yeah,
You got to let people miss you sometimes.
Gotta
Interesting.
let people
yep,
miss you.
exactly.
And then you convince
So
yourself it's good because the McRib is hot garbage. No.
I've never eaten McRib. I've never had
I've
the
never
McRib
even
to this
eaten a
day.
McRib
Yeah, I don't
before,
know.
but we're gonna talk about
I
it.
just
Maybe I'll
like
go.
alliteration. Musical
Are they
McRib
out?
worked. Yeah.
Are they out? Can you buy a McRib now? I don't even
Oh,
I
know.
if
don't
you can buy
know. We should have
Yes, I
planned
don't think
out the,
so.
yeah, I should have called, yeah, Mike Connect that doesn't exist at McDonald's and asked when the McRib has come back. We could have timed the episode. We could have lined up a sponsorship.
Perfect.
I
It's
honestly
Yeah.
all
haven't had a
good.
McRib in like forever, but I just remember like it was a thing that everyone's like, the McRib is back, and then you go have a McRib and you're
It
like,
was,
this tastes
It's
yeah,
terrible.
I
maybe we
associate
should
the
be the
McRib with
chicken.
like the epic bacon era of like the world. You know, it's like the early 2010s where it's like, we gotta get the McRib. It's back. It's like, do we
It's
need
gonna
it?
become the chicken wrap. The chicken wrap.
The snack wraps are coming back.
Snack
Yeah, once some
wraps.
snack
Because
wraps
that's
come
the
back.
one. Everyone's been clamoring for a snack wrap. All right, guys. So thank you everyone for joining us, listening to us talk this long about Are They Emo? Everyone have a great day and stay emo, guys. Yeah.